Good to have you back. Didn't you just do this? Does it feel like you just did this? Just a couple.
Yeah, yeah. About 3 hours ago, it feels like. Just a little 3 hour nap. Start all back over, ready to go. Learned so much.
Is it Groundhog Day then, or is it just?
No, 'cause I was watching the sun kind of start to set earlier. Now I'm watching it start to come back up. A little bit different. And now we didn't do the live stream last night either. Patrick and I have become live stream gurus. We're all completely aware of how it works, and the 4 to 7 show is not really conducive when people are trying to drive home from from work, and probably has the live stream on in the car. Kids are yelling, so it's a little different. A little different.
So driving into work, no problem. Driving home from work, big problem.
Well, I think we discussed this on the live about the live stream. I think people get up right now. They've got it set up. They're able to kind of like mess around with it while they're trying to brush teeth, get kids ready. They're able to pay attention. Not so much when you get home at 6 o'clock. We'll see a little bit of a drop off usually, I guess, between 7 and 8 when people are maybe trying to drive. I guess. I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, especially it was a Friday when we did it, and everyone getting home from work. And at 6:30 on a Friday, I don't think they were interested in watching us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like excuses to me.
We're in the analytics game, and the numbers were not good.
Oh, okay. Analytics game. Fair enough. Well, the number that popped out yesterday, I'm assuming you guys discussed this last night. Three Gamecock baseball transfers. You guys see that news?
Yep. We broke that live as it happened.
Oh. Whoa, you're in the analytics and breaking news game?
We broke that immediately.
Heath would have been proud.
How else can you break something if not immediately, Patrick?
We could have seen it like 30 minutes late or something and been like, oh, hey, we saw this on Twitter 30 minutes ago. No, it was out. Whittle put that out probably 2 minutes before we broke it on the air.
We were ready.
Wait. I think, Bill, we need to explain to Patrick what breaking something means. When you already say it, put it out, and then you say you break it.
Okay, but we broke it to people. If I didn't hear some news and Bill told it to me, it doesn't mean he was the initial source of it. And technically, those guys broke the news themselves to the coach, and then somehow it got somewhere else. And it's all about who hears it from who. We broke it to all the people listening that didn't already see it on Twitter. If you were in your car not checking Twitter, we broke it to you.
We did
so I'm breaking the news to my kids about a lot of things. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, yeah.
A ton of news, yeah.
Okay.
Daily.
Things that you could, if it happened 30 years ago and you just told your kids about it, you're breaking news to them.
They're talking
about World War II the other day. I guess I news.
How did they take it?
30 years ago. How did they take it?
They're good. Well, it turned out well.
Okay.
Much better some other news I've broken to them, apparently. Good to have you guys back. Good to be back. Not incredibly newsy day today from that standpoint, but the Gamecock baseball thing is an interesting example of where we are in the 21st century, I think. 20 years ago, I don't even know if this news comes out hardly at all with the Gamecock baseball program. You're talking about 3 freshmen who didn't get a bunch of playing time. I saw it happen yesterday, and then the social media reaction was the typical overreaction that I saw from a lot of folks. But the 3 freshmen that have left the Gamecock baseball program, if you don't follow the baseball program specifically close, you probably haven't heard their names. Maybe you've heard Mag Cotto's name because he was just in the game over the weekend, his first SEC appearance, gave up 5 runs on Friday night and had pitched a little bit better right before then. Travis Linsman is the other pitcher, and Brandon Fields might be a name you heard of, a talented outfielder who didn't get a hit in 6 games this year, had ended up going 0 for 6 and made 1 career start. So to me, this is what happens every year at big-time baseball programs. You got numbers coming in, you only have specific amount of playing time, and then you have a few guys coming out every year with transferring and moving on and trying to find a better spot for them. And at the end of the semester, this is relatively typical. I know if you're just looking at the baseball lens, you're saying, well, it's not even the end of the baseball season. What's happening here? But into the semester, these guys are moving on. Certainly wish them luck with their baseball careers. And unfortunately, didn't work out at South Carolina, but that's just how it goes, is how I see this thing. Bill, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know. Because of the weird role of COVID in last year, and because you had guys that it was a 5-round Major League Baseball draft, Brandon Fields was a guy who probably doesn't even make it to campus last year. Would have been drafted a little bit higher, maybe in the top 10 or 12 rounds. I think what he's projected at. Maybe he gets a little upset. Now, he's had some off the field issues too. I think that was the one. That was the name I was familiar with. He was a running back recruit, and he was obviously a baseball recruit. Chose to go the baseball route. I think he had an offer. I'm pretty sure he had an offer to play football for Will Muschamp. So I was familiar with the Brandon Fields news, but I had knew enough that he had gotten in some trouble and been suspended at the beginning of the year, and apparently was suspended for the Mississippi series. So, something wasn't clicking there. The two pitchers, yeah, I don't know. Again, this is where I think this year, guys coming in expecting more innings or wanting more of a role, it's a little difficult. Maybe you've got to be a little bit patient. Look, I can't tell you what's happening at other programs. I'm not going to try and pretend that I know more about if there's other transfers happening at other programs. But, was it a lack of patience? Was there a disagreement with the coaching staff? Was there a disagreement with how they were being coached or taught by Skylar Meade? We'll see. But I also feel like that's just part of college athletics nowadays. You can transfer one time free, go anywhere you want, and not have to sit out, which makes it a lot easier.
And the long-term impact on this is 3 guys who are kind of rated in the top 200 in the country coming out. I'm seeing also, I guess, 3 guys rated in the top 500, just depends where you look at it. It looks like 194 was the lowest. So this is by Perfect Game, who rates high school baseball players coming out. So not trying to tell you that it's good news by any chance from South Carolina standpoint, but especially as it pertains to this season, not a large effect. We'll see if any has any kind of effect down the road with a couple of talented arms and a talented outfielder transferring out of the Gamecock baseball program. That was the news coming down yesterday after Carolina avoided disaster and ended up winning the series finale against Mississippi State at home, snapping a 6-game SEC losing streak. Tonight, it's Carolina and Clemson, and I went on a bit of a gas baggy hot take yesterday. I didn't have you guys in for the witty banter, so do that sports talk radio show thing, get on the soapbox and talk to myself for a little while. But yesterday it was about how Carolina Clemson and the baseball rivalry, as we sit here today, isn't quite what it's been lately, and it's a bummer just from, I think, a baseball fan standpoint. Clemson coming off a weekend sweep at Georgia Tech. Now, they had swept Louisville the weekend before, so a completely uneven couple of weekends for them in ACC play, but they're now just 1 game above 500 overall. They're also 500 in conference play. The Gamecocks 500 in SEC play and 10, 11 games over 500 overall, so in much better standing overall. But as opposed to certainly 10 years ago and the 10 years before that, in the last couple of decades, feel like this thing has been the best rivalry in college baseball. Here, not quite there. And both, I think, programs right now trying to find their identities or refine their identities and kind of reestablish themselves as two of the best programs in the country. That's how I'm seeing things. Bill, what about you?
Well, yeah, from a national prestige standpoint, it's not what it has been, and I think that's where you're going with it. At the same time, I think the last 2 years have thrown it off a little bit. Last year, it was wrapping up. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it the last series played before everything was shut down, or was it the second to last series? I'd have to go back and look.
I think it was second to last.
But I think last year there was a lot going on sports-wise and in our country right as it was starting to happen, and maybe it got lost just a little bit in the shuffle. This year, when you don't play the 3 games on a weekend, I think it's close, but man, look, it's hard to argue that this year the games haven't been as good as they've been in years past. A 3-2, 11 inning game in Greenville on Saturday night, an 8-7 walk off on Sunday. Phenomenal games. It's not like they're blowouts. It's just, I think where you're going with that is you don't have the prestige of top 15 matchups, top 10 matchups. Teams really trying to set momentum early on the national level. Obviously, they're trying to set it for their team. And so that's understandable. But I think that you look at these games, you look at the series, it's still been a lot of fun. Clemson's gained the upper hand for a while here. And South Carolina is maybe trying to turn that back around, obviously going for the sweep tonight. I think also breaking up the series the way it has been this year hurts a little bit just from a momentum standpoint. But the only way I would agree with you on it not being the same is just because it's obvious this series right now is not on the same level nationally as where it's been.
Patrick, you see your guy, Russell Westbrook, on your Washington Wizards yesterday, setting the record, making the headlines. And man, this is a classic NBA story for me. Well, Russell Westbrook, we all know, is very talented. Patrick, I think it was very telling that your team, who has struggled forever, traded for him, and you are not happy about it. I think that is a great example of Russell Westbrook's maybe kind of lightning rod stature. And then yesterday he sets the record. He breaks Oscar Robertson's record for most all-time triple-doubles. Did you guys see how he did it? See the one play that did it? To me, it is worth watching if you haven't seen it. Only because it sums up, I think, Russell Westbrook's triple-doubles. It was like 8.5 minutes to go. You needed a rebound. There's a shot. And when he pulls the rebound down, there are like 3 people within the 3-point line. Everybody else had already gone down the floor. It was the least contested possession I think you'll see in a classic NBA one at that. And to me, kind of sums up this record because it used to be, in my mind growing up, man, Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double. Can you imagine anybody doing that? And then now Westbrook has done it a few times, and now he's passing his numbers here. And I just feel like it's devalued it so much because the wins haven't come necessarily with Westbrook's numbers.
Well, I'm very torn on what Russell Westbrook. I like him now. I mean, he's on my team, so I obviously like him. I'm just torn because he's not just getting rebounds. I mean, you don't accidentally get 21 rebounds in a game because people are just running back. Like he is the hardest, plays harder than anyone I've ever seen on a basketball court. Like 100% for 40 minutes a game, however many minutes he plays, he's going 100% every time. The wins do come in the regular season, and that's because of how hardworking Russell Westbrook is. Like the Wizards really turned the season around. They looked like they were just doomed and going to be a top 5 pick this year. But what he does to the locker room is just does not let anybody not give it their best. There's enough double negative, but yeah, he makes everybody play their hardest every single game. There's not going to be an off day with Russell Westbrook on the court because he just won't allow it, and he brings that energy. His rebounds are not just hollow, like everyone's running down the court. Like he's in there battling with 7-footers every night and just has no regard for his body. So, I mean, I do really appreciate that, and the triple-double is completely a testament to just his ridiculous motor and work ethic on the court. So, I mean, I appreciate that. The reason that I didn't like the trade was because he's never had success by himself in the playoffs, and the only time he's actually had a successful playoff run was with Kevin Durant when he wasn't even the best player. So the problem with Russell Westbrook is his energy level comes back to bite you in the playoffs because everyone's playing hard. It's far more of a half-court game because everyone's running back on defense. You can't just get transition points all day long, and that's not where Russell Westbrook thrives. He's not a half-court player. He's not a great shooter, but he works so hard that it's hard not to appreciate it when you watch it every single night, which I didn't really do when he wasn't in Washington. Now I do, and it's hard not to appreciate that. But I mean, he's number 1 in the NBA in assists, I think, by pretty wide margin, and he's top 5 in rebounding, which is just crazy. I think, he's number 6 behind basically all 7-footers. I don't know if Sabonis is 7 feet, but all 7-footers, and he's leading the NBA in assists by, let's see, by
6'3".
yeah, 6'3". So I mean, it's just he's leading the NBA by over 2 assists a game too. So I mean, he's making everyone better around him. He is the reason that the Wizards are going to make the playoffs. Do I think that they're going to do anything in the playoffs? No, but I mean, I definitely appreciate him more than I ever have. And the triple-double streak is just truly ridiculous. I think Oscar Robertson did it twice, average triple-double in a season. He's done it. Russell Westbrook's done it 4 of his last 5 years. So it is truly ridiculous. The odds of him to get a triple-double last night were minus 410 on the sports books, which is just truly absurd because normally it would be the opposite. It would be like plus 400 if you were going to bet on a single game that somebody would get a triple-double. So, I mean, he's completely rewritten or just reshaped our idea of what a triple-double is. And he makes this like very impressive feat seem just like another day's work because it is for him. So I appreciate him.
But that's my question. Like, what do we think of him breaking this record? A lot of people never thought it would be broken. Oscar Robertson has led the league in triple doubles since 1962. And now that it's broken, I don't.
But it's not like everyone's doing that. Like the 3-point records that we were talking about with Curry, it's like, well, yeah, but if you look at the top 10, they're all in the last 5 to 10 years. Russell Westbrook's the only person doing this because there's not a single player that comes even close to the energy level that Russell Westbrook plays with on a nightly basis.
So is there any other example in sports? I don't know if there is because we talked about greatest quarterbacks of all time, and obviously those stats have changed massively through the years. The 3-point one is a great point. All of those stats have changed. Steph Curry leading the way there. But this triple-double thing hasn't really changed that much except for this one dude. I don't think there's anything else out there where one guy is doing something so well that other people just haven't done in 50 years, and that's Russell Westbrook.
And it's not translating to wins as well, which is the
right.
part.
I mean, Washington lost by a point last night. This year's team. Go ahead, Bill. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, if Kevin Durant stays in Oklahoma City and they win a championship, remember they're up on Golden State. What was it? Was it 3-1 the year before Kevin Durant left? And I think Oklahoma City with Westbrook and Durant could have gone on. And at that time they had Serge Ibaka. I forget who else they had. Patrick.
Kendrick Perkins, Andre Robertson.
They had a good team. I mean, they were right there on the cusp, and they just collapsed. But if let's say one of two things, Russell Westbrook plays in one NBA Finals in his prime. He's about to be past that. I know he's just
he did.
By the time he gets out of Washington, he's not going to be in his prime.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. What? How long is a prime?
I feel like it's going to start to.
He's 32.
For him, the way
he should be out of his prime, but he just hasn't.
Yeah, the way the shooting percentage has been going down, I don't think athletically he can continue. I'd say a year or two more.
His shooting percentage has never been good though. That's always kind of been his Achilles heel. It's just he's not an elite shooter.
I was looking to see. I'll have to see if I can get the advanced stats and break down the number of shots taken now versus the maybe as the years have gone by. But I just wonder what the view of him is if he plays in just one NBA final or if he wins. You're right. He did. They lost to the Heat. Yeah. Okay. That goes to show. Did that team have Harden too?
Yeah, I think so.
That team still had Harden, Durant,
and they just got pummeled by LeBron.
Well, they got up 2-0 in that series, and then the Heat won 4 straight.
4 in a row, I think. Yeah.
So, just interesting.
If he won a championship, it would change everything. It would change completely change the narrative around Russell Westbrook. He'd be undoubtedly on like the short list of players of this generation and one of the greatest players of all time. Now he's like, I don't know, top. I don't even know how deep you would go. Definitely one of the top 100 players.
Let's just compare him to another guy. Compare him to another guy who never won a championship. Compare him to say a Charles Barkley, who's widely regarded as the top. He's definitely in the top 50. Was he top 30, top 20? I don't know where. I feel like we're back down.
I mean, Russell Westbrook is one of the probably 15, if not 10 best point guards of all time. I mean, look who's been better than him in the last 20 years. Steph Curry. Who else?
It's a short list.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting conversation just simply because the numbers are so outrageous and something we now haven't seen at all before. As a legend like Oscar Robertson, then how do you put it in context? We'll continue to try to figure that out as we roll on this morning. 803-404-6100 is the number into the program. You can call or text. Love Chevy phone lines and Cool Care Heating and Air text line up and rolling this morning. Looked like you guys had some activity yesterday and last night's show helping to fill in for Heath Klein. What was the most difficult part of the transition, Bill? Or what do you enjoy most about waking up early, getting back to the old morning show routine now?
I like the big crowd here. I like the big crowd.
I hear you. Not out.
Because I just had some technical difficulties, and there was not a lot of pressure there to have to jump back in immediately. I was able to work through it a little bit easier. So yeah, the big crowd, because we are easing our way into that time of year where things really, really slow down. So yeah, we had a conversation yesterday on Medina Spirit and Bob Baffert. Didn't get to really catch up with you guys on that last week. By the time that I showed back up on Wednesday, we talked briefly about it. But all those, as Patrick was very upset yesterday, those doping horses that you got to watch out for.
Can't have it.
Yeah, it's just and we
not my horse racing.
We talked about there was some confusion. Bob Baffert was on Dan Patrick yesterday, and Rick Bozich, who I follow on Twitter, who writes for a Louisville newspaper, retweeted a story that Bob Baffert had, but he wasn't very clear on the story, and so it sounded like the story was part of what happened at Churchill Downs. It was just relaying a story that happened to him at another point in his career with another horse. Pretty entertaining, though. I thought it was one of the best excuses ever for a horse turning up with a positive drug test. 21 picograms.
Did that have something to do with some tainted hay? Is that what the one you're talking
and a
about?
Sick groomer? Yeah. Wow. A groomer that took some cough medicine. Yeah, it was.
Speaking of crowd here in the morning show, good to see all you guys up with us on the live video stream. YouTube Live, DC, LeVar, and Sonny. Facebook Live, Travis is up early with us, as well as David. We're streaming on Twitter as well at 1075 The Game. Even Jim, the Clemson fan over in Carolina Beach, taking shots, as apparently a lot of Clemson fans are doing right now.
Well, I feel bad for him. The problem is he doesn't know who they play because he hadn't seen his daddy in baseball in a few months. He hadn't seen him. He's confused. They've lost 2 in a row. Hadn't seen his daddy. They'll see your daddy tonight in baseball. There, I like that.
With one out where you can follow him.
A few punches.
Patrick's at _Patrick Perret. I'm at Tim Hill 1075. Jen's holding things down, producing from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios in downtown Columbia at Jen Jensen. More since the early game here on 1075.
Oh. The problem with getting back into the morning show, though, is I drank all my coffee creamer. I got back into a little bit of coffee creamer, so now it's back to black coffee this morning.
And do the black coffee.
Well, I don't have a good black coffee. That's the problem.
I don't even know what that means.
What did he say?
Said I don't have the good black coffee, so I'm talking about.
I mean, that's what we should market, Patrick.
The good coffee. It's like regular coffee, but good.
Did you guys talk about Caslin at all yesterday?
We did like a short segment. Just Bill read the Judy Gadsden tweet when it just came out, saying like, "Yeah, this is the statement," and we were just like, "Yeah, I mean, nothing to say. It was strange, and we're a sports show, so I don't."
Yeah, like I don't think we've ever heard from you before. An interesting first tweet. I do see the orange J, so
yeah,
maybe I guess that's it.
Clemson fans are taking victory laps over this, like it's like they just won another national championship. Our favorite texter was ridiculous yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
He couldn't stop.
That's so interesting to me.
Who are you talking about? He couldn't stop.
Our favorite
Boy on the
texter.
text line.
Yeah, our one buddy had way too much free time.
7 texts during our show yesterday.
Nice.
He said he kept just amending his text.
Yeah, that was the
13
best part. Copied and pasted and just update one part.
Third show today that hasn't mentioned it. Fourth show today that hasn't mentioned it.
Wow. So, oh yeah, he started it off, I guess, at 6:03 yesterday when I ignored it.
6:03. So before you can even get your opening monologue out, welcome in everybody. Wait a minute. What is
In 6:13, and that was the pause until 12:50, 1:12, 2:40, 4:40, 5:10, 5:25, 5:30, 6:05, 6:35, 6:38. Wow. That's a full day.
that is a person who needs either a new job or to get out of his mom's basement. One of the two. Because there's a lot of effort that goes into that. Bought me a boat yesterday. We're ready to load it up.
Oh boy. I really didn't send out the link this morning.
Huh?
I didn't send out the link this morning, did I?
No, but I learned doing this the other day from Patrick just about being able to hop on the the admin or whatever, and we can all jump in that way.
All right. My bad on that. Sorry, Jim.
No need to worry about it anymore. All you do is just set it up every morning when I arrive. When we arrive, just hop in. Like maybe you have to send it to Jen, but
Just
saves you one more thing. Yuck. Hazelnut cream. Ugh, that's nasty. So how'd it go to last? Feels like I hadn't been around forever.
yeah. It's good to have you back. It went okay.
Yeah, all that sleeping in the morning was tough.
I bet. Get Beth from Lamar there.
Yeah. Boy, if she's saying that, what does she think about Gamecock Larry?
So, Jonathan, I'm confused. Big into the university president politics?
A lot of people are. It's half of my Twitter feed.
Oh, yeah, Travis is talking about I guess basically what Kerry was saying yesterday is how the AAU coaches don't have an obligation to keep the best players in the state, but that's when South Carolina basketball is going to be able to turn the corner when they can keep the best players in the state of South Carolina.
Do I know?
Let's talk a little bit about the basketball program. I think you guys might disagree on the difficulty of the job.
Does he think it's an easy job?
No, but just wouldn't necessarily put it at the top of most difficult jobs, I think, maybe.
Yeah, it's
24/7. It's always there for you. The Hot Take Hotline. Call 803-978-6654 if you need to vent at any point. No matter what's going on, it's there for you. I recommend several of you who are texting in kind of randomly, clearly with your own agendas. Maybe you try out the Hot Take Hotline and talk about 803-978-6654 again. That Hot Take Hotline sponsored by Twin Peaks for the men who never settle. You can go see them down in the Vista at 600 Gervais Street. Interesting text. Now, Papa Joe's in with the show. He's been listening. Russell Westbrook, who broke Oscar Robertson's triple-double record last night, he says, Westbrook's highly underrated. Easily one of the greatest point guards in this generation. He has a fiery temper, though. Sometimes I think that holds him back. So, Patrick, you were doing the list of point guards. And then somebody else, it was this Brandon who this up. Yeah. How do Westbrook's turnover numbers impact your view of him as an elite point guard? So you looked up the assist numbers. And I think the rebound numbers maybe is what you were looking up. Please turnover numbers as well.
Like, I have them yearly. Do you want them like right now in the league where they rank?
Well, yeah, you were telling us basically he's averaging
number one. Number one.
He's averaging 2 assists or more than anybody else, more than anybody else.
Yeah.
And what about turnovers?
He has half a turnover more than Luka Doncic. It's not a giant margin, but he is number one. It impacts it. I mean, that's part of basketball. I mean, he's the basketball equivalent of like a gunslinging quarterback. Like that's what he's going to do. He's going to fill up the stats. He's going to get a bunch of rebounds. He plays so fast all the time. I mean, you see him get a rebound, he immediately turns up court and he's looking up and he's going to throw the ball into traffic sometimes. He's going to dribble into a crowd and try to make a play, and he'll throw the ball away. That's just, that's part of who he is. He turns the ball over a lot, and that's also been a big problem for him. So, I mean, it for sure affects how he ranks all the time. Not saying he's the greatest point guard ever, but, I mean, he's definitely going to be up there. His numbers are going to be just ridiculous when you look at his career stats.
Do we have any more gunslinging quarterbacks in the NFL that turn it over at a high?
Jay, is it that Jameis Winston? Didn't you just describe a 30 touchdown, 30 interception dude?
Right, but who hasn't been a starter now for at least a full year, and I guess is due to be the starting quarterback.
And it's not elite.
That's still to be right. It's not. You wouldn't put him at the top of the league anywhere close to that.
Nobody would say that Russell Westbrook is anything but elite. He is for sure one of the elite players in basketball.
That's kind of odd because I feel like Jameis kind of he slung himself out of the starting role and into the backup role because of all those picks, and we haven't anybody do it since.
You know what? That's interesting what you say about not elite, because I think a lot of people would say he's not elite. I'm not one of those people. Yeah, but let me tell you why real quick.
Stop it, Bill.
Nobody would say that.
Patrick, why didn't you want him on the Wizards?
Because I think he comes up short in the playoffs. Doesn't mean he's not an elite player. What? You're gonna respond? You can't just stay.
Well, now I'm wondering what your definition of elite is. Like, isn't that it? What
top three at your position? Top 3 to 5 at your position.
Don't we draw
he's a perennial all-star. You just go ahead and write him in with Penn to the All-Star game every year. Like he's that kind of player.
Yeah, but
someone that averages a triple-double is elite.
I just you didn't want him on your team because of playoffs, like because he hasn't been on particularly.
Well,
he made it to the finals. He got to the finals with one team. He basically got another team by himself into the playoffs. Like you're gonna blame him because the rest of your team, the rest of his teams weren't that good when he basically carried Oklahoma City without Durant into the playoffs, and he got to the finals in another playoff, and he was in the conference finals.
You're arguing that I should want him on my team.
Well, I'm wondering because when you
just changed your argument mid.
You want elite players on your team, and you're over here going, I didn't want him on my team, but he's elite. You want elite players in your organization and on your team.
Generally,
and yet you didn't want an elite player in your organization.
I didn't think that he fit with the timeline of the Wizards necessarily. I didn't think I
build around him. He's elite.
I also didn't really want to lose John Wall. I mean, dude, there's lots of elite players in basketball.
Wait a minute. Why didn't you want to lose John Wall for Russell Westbrook?
Yes, because I like John Wall, and I think that Russell Westbrook comes up short in the playoffs. And maybe you were unplugged when I described why I think he comes up short in the playoffs. I think he's an incredible, one of the best regular season players of all time because the game is much faster and he can kind of use the open court more. But in the playoffs, the court gets smaller. It's more of a half-court game, and I don't think Russell Westbrook excels in the half-court game. So I think that is a big reason why he comes up short in the playoffs.
Let me hit pause here.
Aren't a contending roster right now anyway. You also need multiple elite players.
But you start
three elite players on the Knicks. On the Nets, I mean, there's two seven best players in basketball are on the Lakers.
Right,
We're not going to win a championship.
So just to understand your argument, you need elite players on your roster to build a championship team. You're getting an elite player, but you weren't happy about it. Is that what I understand? Because you just said you need elite players. Russell Westbrook's elite. John Wall's not elite. Hopefully we're gonna agree on that one.
Well, also John Wall was coming off an injury. I hadn't seen him play in 2 years.
You made more fun of John Wall than John Wall.
What you made fun of John Wall?
You talked about his weight gain. You talked about
he got fat.
There. Okay.
But I still like John Wall, and I hadn't seen him play in 2 years, and he was one of the greatest Wizards of all time, and I didn't want to get rid of him. And I thought there was always the thing with John Wall was every single year it was like we were that close. He got hurt, something happened, and it was the same thing. He was coming off an Achilles, and I wanted to see.
I'm not arguing with that Russell Westbrook's elite. I think he is. I've made the case for him for a long time about how good he is. I just don't understand how you don't want that player on your team.
Well, I'm happy he's on my team now.
Oh, okay.
We're going back a year. We're going back a year. But also, there's elite players in every sport every year that don't win championships. I don't want Ezekiel Elliott on my team. He's an elite running back. I don't want him on my team. Russell Westbrook's making over $40 million a year, too. It's hard to build around that.
How about Clark's take here? Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Westbrook plays a totally different game than anyone else in the league that doesn't fit every team. I think that's to Patrick's points. Chavo on the YouTube live stream. Mom and Dad, they're arguing again. LOL. Anthony goes with Westbrook's a top 5 point guard of all time. I can't go that far, man. I can't go that far. Because when I think of point guards, I think of a guy who just makes your team go, makes your team better. He makes everybody better. Patrick, I think you mentioned that about Westbrook earlier. But I don't see him as that guy. I see him as a guy that's going to get his and not necessarily make his team better. Like John Stockton, Magic Johnson, they're making their teams better. They are two of the best point guards of all time.
Leading the league in assists.
Yes, but also leading the league in turnovers. That's a problem.
Is Luka Doncic making his team better? Making his players around him better?
Yeah. How old is Westbrook? You said 32?
32.
And Doncic is how old?
Probably 25 or something like that.
I think he's 22.
Oh, 22. Okay.
And he's a guy I think that will figure out how to get that thing under control, the turnover issue. And Westbrook has not. I think that's part of the anomaly of him. I think that's why he's an interesting guy to discuss, and certainly a notable day to do it after you pass Oscar Robertson all time for triple doubles. But now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know who else I'm throwing at point guard in front of Russell Westbrook all time after he's up there, because I think I always threw Oscar Robertson up there, but now I gotta maybe rethink that. Steph Curry I would throw in front of him right now as a better point guard, but I know Steph Curry is certainly known much more for shooting. You're looking for a guy to dish out a bunch of assists. He's not necessarily going to be your point guard.
And has carried teams to championships.
And is going to be the MVP this year, while Russell Westbrook is, again,
Jokic is going to be the MVP.
The triple-double. Raphael, no, I'm not putting Gary Payton in front of Russell Westbrook all time. Best point guard. I love the glove. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think I'm doing that. So now that Anthony says that, maybe I have him closer to that top 5 than I realized talking it out. We'll continue to do that as we roll on. You guys going to fight all morning? You going to kiss and make up? Where are we at right now?
I'm
no
confused on the argument. Also starting to think that.
Okay, well, I was emotional and probably wrong to not want him on my team.
Oh,
but that doesn't mean he's not elite. I acknowledge that he was. I would have acknowledged he was elite when we traded for him. Doesn't mean I want him.
Ooh, how about this take? Anonymous Texter says Kyrie Irving, elite. Don't want him.
Boom.
I think that's a pretty good comparison right now.
What I feel like now is we have to start over and figure out who's not elite, because It feels like
Well,
we just
you brought that up. That's your fault.
I feel
That-
like we have to
that
start
was a,
completely over and figure out what the definition of elite is.
That is a classic Sports Talk Radio Joe Flacco, I believe, take that we need to get into. John K says Patrick and Stephen A. Smith need to do a show to see who can yell the loudest. Have a great day, fellas. Thank you, John. You have a great day as well. 803-404-6100. If you would like to weigh in on the program now, Anthony is asking for the whiteboard to write down top point guards.
I agree. Yeah, get that whiteboard.
I think we should
going
do
over
it. If you got a top 5 point guard list, we need to hear it. That's where we are this morning. Patrick, are you not in a good mood? Have you gotten over this? I think you came to the realization, that's what I heard anyway, that your original Russell Westbrook take was wrong, and now you've come around to evolve.
Yeah, I also didn't really like him, so that was part of it too. I didn't want a player I didn't necessarily like. But, I mean, when he's on your team, no matter who it is, you're going to learn to appreciate that more.
DC says, this is great. Y'all are on the verge of name calling. And Chama, like I was emotional and probably wrong. Quote from Patrick this morning. We're off to a fiery start. I love it. The whole band's back together, and we're working out some issues. 803-404-6100 again is the number in the program. It's the early game here on 107.5 again. Is he elite? That should automatically get you a mute for a few minutes.
Papa Joe must be related to Westbrook.
Because he disagrees with you?
No, because he's really standing up for him.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good list right there. Got to tell you. The pre-1980s history might have called Anthony and said, hey, what about the old school guys?
Is there anybody that doesn't think that Magic Johnson is the greatest point guard of all time?
I think so. I'm guessing there's some Isaiah fans out there, maybe, if you're a big Detroit guy.
I would think he's probably in the top 5, right?
He's got to be dang close. But we're just doing 80s guys, right? We only had point guards in the 80s, Magic, Stockton, Isaiah. What about they got to throw Bob Cousy in there if you're doing NBA.
Bob Cousy?
No.
Got to throw Pistol Pete Maravich in there for consideration. Probably not as NBA point guard, though. Now that's funny. Chama's doing there.
Okay. I probably should have heard of this person.
Oh no.
I've never heard of Fat Lever.
Fat Lever.
Fat Lever.
Where did that come from? Did somebody put him on a list?
I Googled just best point guards, and I'm just scrolling through the list. I'm pretty deep now before I got to Fat Lever. But I'd never heard of him before.
I'll bring my 6-year-old down to talk to you about him. I was schooling him up the other day because
breaking news. You were breaking news to him.
I was breaking the news about Lafayette Lever having the nickname Fat. So now my 6-year-old has him as one of his top players. Obviously, guy's named Fat.
Yeah. Larry. Maryland just got a transfer named Fats Russell, who's going to be awesome. Who is already awesome, but he's going to be more awesome for Maryland.
Wow, Steve Francis in top 50 point guards of all time. Forgot about Steve Francis.
He gets hurt.
That's crazy.
Stephon Marbury. So is Marbury still playing in China?
Isn't he like 50?
Surely not.
I mean,
well, that's a pretty good list.
But don't they have the Marbury Museum over there for him?
Probably.
I didn't know they had a museum. That's
sure
awesome. Shouldn't it be the Starberry Museum?
He's actually the head coach of the Beijing Royal Fighters now.
Oh, I mean, because if anybody was destined to be a coach, it was clearly Marbury.
Man, there are a lot of teams in Beijing, because he was a player for the Beijing Ducks and the Beijing Fly Dragons, and now he's the head coach for the Beijing Royal Fighters. He's not sniffing the top 5 though. Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, do they come near there? Maybe.
Jason Kidd. That's
Yeah.
a good one. Kidd's up there in triple doubles too, numbers wise. I saw.
I mean, what is he? 10-time All-Star.
Write my list down.
Yeah, 10-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA first team. Jason Kidd's going on my list. Forget about it.
Jason Kidd's on your top 5 list?
Yeah. Russell Westbrook is not.
Wow.
Here, I'll give you this hot take. I'll take Damian Lillard right now over Russell Westbrook.
Okay, I don't disagree with you. Damian Lillard is elite. He's one of the best shooters in basketball.
Okay, so far, elite point guards in the league. Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, now Damian Lillard.
I like how you think there can only be like 2 elite players at any given time.
And now I think the elite club is wide open to anybody. LaMelo Ball is elite.
Not elite.
Now I disagree.
You can put James Harden on there. He's elite.
Is he point guard? Are we define him as a point guard?
Doesn't matter where he plays. He's elite. He plays both. He plays, yeah. Put him as a 1.
James Harden elite. Unlike we have elite texters too, unlike Jerry. I had to go back. Jerry on the text line really does not like me. I had to go back. I went back to his text. Even in 2019, he was very unhappy with me. His dislike of me is genuine and real.
There are a lot of people that don't like me texting in too.
About to head back in. All right, you guys are up.
Nice work, Jen, with the Rocky music. These guys coming out swinging this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we haven't been together as a family. I've only been around once in the last the last 6 business days, day 7 here. Last Wednesday I was around. So yeah, we've all got pent up emotions that we've got to get out. Got to share with each other.
Is that more of a dysfunctional family? Because, I don't usually fight with my family.
Really?
No.
So I'm not one of your family members?
The family's not fighting here. It's just you and Patrick. And you guys have been doing the last couple of shows together.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of good times.
There's 7 elite point guards right now, by the way.
And he's done.
Getting right back into it. The Russell Westbrook.
I was just crunching the numbers right now. There's 7 elite
Crunching
point
the
guards.
numbers,
And then John
everybody.
Moran, who
It is
is
tax
very
season.
close to becoming elite.
Okay, let's hear your list of 7 current elite point guards in the NBA. I'd say 7 at one position is a pretty long list of elite guys. But go ahead.
How many elite quarterbacks are there in football?
Little different in football, but please continue. What do you got?
All right. Luka, elite. Steph, elite. Dame, elite. Ben Simmons, elite. Russ, elite. Kyrie, elite. Jamal Murray, elite.
Okay, that's the list right now.
That's it.
Now,
Chris
what
Paul is
about-
one of the greatest of all times. Currently no longer elite.
breaking news.
Breaking news.
Broken on
Chris
the
Paul,
show.
no longer elite. No longer elite.
Great commercials.
It's going to be painful when he
Elite
wakes up in
commercial guy.
Phoenix to hear that the radio show in Columbia, South Carolina has moved him out of the elite status.
Bill, what do you got as your top 5 point guard list? Have you
Of
written
all
it down?
time? Of all time?
Yeah, we've gotten some good ones. We've gotten some good ones in. For instance, Todd just hit us up. Magic Johnson, greatest point guard ever. It's not even close. Next 4, John Stockton, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Allen Iverson. Interesting list there. Adam goes with Magic, Oscar Robertson, Stockton, Isaiah, Jason Kidd, Gamecock Zach, Magic, Steph Curry, Allen Iverson, John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas. Interesting names on there.
40.
Johnson, Robertson, Thomas, Stockton, and I'm really torn on the fifth. I don't know enough about Bob Cousy, but the old videos, I feel like I should throw him in there. I loved Allen Iverson. I feel like he should be in there. I kind of narrowed it down to one of those two to throw in there. And Steve Nash was a outside third to try and make that fifth spot. So I don't know. I'd have to do a little research or just watch Bob Cousy and compare him with Allen Iverson and
just go with your gut.
Go Allen Iverson, man.
What do you
got? I'd go Iverson.
Magic, Steph, Stockton, IT, Jason Kidd.
IT is Isaiah Thomas. Never even heard that.
Yeah, neither. Yeah.
Maybe that's just new Isaiah Thomas.
So Jen, have you seen this? I've seen this a couple of times now. That apparently I think the skimmer has the audio a little off when it's coming out. Have you guys seen any of these complaints as well? I guess it's just the internet feed right now. The stream, I should say, the audio stream.
Oh, huh.
Got an email from a guy about it the other day, just saying that some mics are low, some mics are hot. I know we switched over some kind of a technical deal recently, and I'm guessing that's why.
Yeah, there was one guy who called and basically had the exact same thing, and he said he runs his stuff through Alexa or something. Didn't know if that had anything to do with it or.
Right. So it seems to be an internet audio issue, not on this video stream, but on the audio stream. But nothing has changed on your end as far as levels or anything, right?
Not that I'm aware of, unless, like I said, we had an audio input issue, like a week and a half ago that Ed fixed, but that was more with the sound sources from the net computer recording over to the Vox Pro. So that shouldn't impact, and that was something right there on the back of the unit. So I don't think that should impact the stream. But I don't know. Maybe it's something he can dig into.
Chavo did not enjoy your IT either, Patrick.
I guess that's just the new IT. Sorry, I never watched him play. I'm just going with it.
IT are people you should fight with about your computer's not working.
All right, I'm going with 21 elite players right now.
So you got to find out how many there are total and what's the percentage
in the league.
Yeah,
there's 450 players.
Okay, so that's top 5%, right?
Yeah, pretty fair. Less than one per team. I can't write them all. I didn't write them all down.
Wait, you're still trying to write elite players down?
No, I said there's 21. There's 21 elite players in the NBA.
Well, all right then.
I think that's a good number. I put Zion as elite. That might be a little bit of a stretch. I really thought people called him IT.
That's the best part of today's show. We're schooling Patrick up on Isaiah Thomas.
We definitely called the 5'9" Isaiah Thomas IT. I probably gave that one to old Isaiah.
Just added it in.
Do you guys not do nicknames back in the day or what?
His nickname was Zeke.
Zeke.
Did Patrick? Did anybody ever call you by your initials?
Yeah.
I see what she's doing there.
That would, yeah.
You were PP?
Technically, JP would be my initials.
So what's the first name?
James.
Oh.
JPP sounds so much better than JP.
Yeah, there's a lot of JPs out there though, and a lot of JPs whose names are actually James Patrick.
Well, that's why you got to go JPP.
Please
Pierre
let
Paul
me.
got that one. Once Pierre Paul retires, I will. What defines elite, Travis, is just me saying they're elite. That's
Yeah,
it.
it is pretty much. It actually is exactly how he does it. Yeah.
Fantastic. I love these random names we got in here. Earl the Pearl, Jason Williams, Tracy McGrady in here earlier. Come on.
Tracy McGrady.
Jan is trolling like he's doing the opposite of the Clemson people talking about Bob Caslin. I was going to look it up real quick. I never got a chance. I'm guessing this is the most combined losses that Carolina and Clemson have had in a game in a long, long time.
That seems fair.
Because typically they haven't played this late. When they have, it's been in the College World Series or I guess against the regionals there a couple of years.
Like you said, a long, long time because, yeah, I mean, game 4 of those Wednesday night games, I think might have been mid-May or beginning of May back in the 90s.
But back in those days, I don't think they had that many losses.
I don't know. The end of the June Reigns era, they were.
It could have been the NCAA regionals a few years ago when Carolina ended Clemson season. 2 straight years?
We're heading back in. That's how it should be. When I say something, you snap too. Look at that. Yeah, that's right.
Perfect intro in hour number 2. In hour number 1, Patrick said we're all about the analytics and then all about breaking news, breaking other people's news.
Yes.
So realized that Isaiah Thomas, the Detroit Pistons legendary point guard, his nickname was not IT. And now we're getting the hottest take of all from Jan on the Facebook live stream. Muggsy Bogues was more elite than Russell Westbrook.
Pound for pound, perhaps.
Inch for inch, for sure.
Well, I also what did Patrick say? To be elite, you've got to be in the top 3 to 5 of your position in the league. And then he rattled off 7 names.
Yeah, but also it's skewed towards point guard, just like it's skewed towards positional value matters, just like it does in football, it matters in basketball. So I named 7 point guards, but I told you during the live stream there's 21 elite players in the NBA right now. So a third of them are point guards. Not my fault.
He gave a head nod after that.
Not my
He's
fault.
confident in this take.
I don't make the rules. I just think them up and write them down.
This is it's like the relative that told me about the Gulf Coast of Georgia last week and said it with such conviction that I was like, maybe they're right.
And now Craig has our first Spud Webb mention on the Facebook live stream this morning. This is all coming up. If you're wondering, we don't typically talk NBA on
Very good
here.
hour. That was a quick hour.
It was because it comes off of last night's news. Last night, I didn't even realize this, and this is another reason why I think this conversation is interesting. Last night, NBA history made, Russell Westbrook breaks Oscar Robertson's all-time record. I believe he set it in 1974 finally, but he's been leading the league in triple-doubles since 1962, Oscar Robertson has, until last night. And Russell Westbrook broke the all-time triple-doubles in a game It's like up to what, 180 or something crazy.
182.
182. He did it with a hilarious rebound that defines to me regular season NBA basketball, where there were only 3 guys who ended up inside the 3-point arc. 3 dudes on the floor. And Russell Westbrook grabs the rebound, uncontested. Also, in this game, I think it defines Russell Westbrook. The numbers are astoundingly ridiculous. 28 points, 21 assists, 13 rebounds. Also had a shot at the end of the game to win the game and missed it. And his Washington Wizards lose to the Atlanta Hawks, 125-124.
I think I got the comparison for him. I think he's Phillip Rivers.
What record did Phillip Rivers break?
Well, nothing. I guess no records, but he's top 10 in like every passing category, I think, and has gotten on the precipice, never made a Super Bowl, borderline. I mean, Russ is not going to be a borderline Hall of Famer, but just tremendous stats year after year. Gunslinger threw a lot of picks. Russell Westbrook, a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Brett Favre, but Brett Favre won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to make a comparison to him for somebody that didn't win a championship.
I think it's really difficult, and that's why we're having the conversation. And then where do you rank Russell Westbrook when you're evaluating point guards? Now, some of you don't understand what a point guard is. I think we just hit us up here.
Somebody
Les.
said Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, let's put Tony Parker and Gary Payton and Kobe Bryant at least in the top 10.
Well, Kobe Bryant seems fair.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, probably should be top 10 at pretty much every position. Maybe not center.
Maybe that guy. Michael, that's not very kind. I don't know how you work with Patrick. He's an idiot. That's just not kind at all on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Beth from Lamar hit us up and said enough fighting a few minutes ago and said, please ask Bill to not trash talk after the baseball game. There is such a thing as a jinx, and I work with a lot of haters, Beth said.
Beth, you should be far more concerned about the trash talk Gamecock Larry has than what I do. I like Gamecock Larry is, and he called in yesterday late yesterday afternoon, and like put everybody on notice that this morning was going to be a big trash talking session, whatever he made it on.
Yeah, he's not going to be happy that we've been talking about the NBA.
No, he's not. You're right. Exactly. That is very true. First, he's going to yell at us, then he's going to yell at everybody else.
But we did touch on at the top of the show the 3 Gamecock baseball players who have transferred. Those 3 are freshmen who haven't played very much and clearly think their future is better off headed to another program. The short-term impact on their transfers, very little to this team. But the long-term one, I think, is what had some Gamecock fans a little upset maybe on the social media and maybe a little worried or wringing their hands. These were guys that were rated in the top 200 overall prospects coming out of high school. So really highly thought of players in Mag Cotto, Travis Linsman, the pitchers, and then Brandon Fields, an outfielder. But they will be moving on. And I think it's hard for me to ignore the timing. I understand the semester just ended, so that might be the reason for the timing with a couple of weeks still left in the regular season, why this announcement came. These guys decided to go ahead and hop in the transfer portal. But also, you guys saw over the weekend, we haven't specifically just talked about the baseball series, where Mississippi State took 2 out of 3 against the Gamecocks and on the verge of sweeping. Carolina comes back in that final game and wins it in extra innings. But after that series opener, you guys did see what Mark Kingston did, a little out of the norm, right? How they didn't talk on the field like they normally did. They sent everybody to the locker room. And yesterday, Kerry Rich gave us the phrase accountability session. And that's what he felt like that post-game chat was all about. And now you have it a few days later that 3 guys are heading out of the program. I'm not saying that just because Mark Kingston and company weren't happy with their team after a 9-0 series opening loss to Mississippi State, these guys are now leaving the program. But it is interesting timing for sure. And not unusual to big-time baseball programs, by the way, that a few guys are deciding to move on with their careers. But what did you guys make of the baseball series overall? I'm simply saying, Bill, that Carolina avoided disaster and still kept themselves in the conversation to be a regional host, one of the 20 sites that the NCAA will announce. I think it's later on today or at some point this week as the possibilities for those 16 regional sites. But they got to win the last couple of series. They have to reverse this trend that they have been on. It's been against good teams, right? But losing 6 straight games in SEC play will get you out of hosting an NCAA tournament regional real quick.
I labeled it yesterday a disappointment. I think that's fair. When you get beat the way you did on Friday night and you were down big on Saturday, I'm glad they rallied, but it's still, you get beat 9-0 and then it's 9-6 on Saturday. You did salvage the Sunday game and rallied there and win it in extra innings. Will they end up being announced as one of the top 20 host sites for our potential host sites, I guess, and then they'll narrow it down to 16 when the announcements come later this week. Yeah, the RPI suggests that that's possible, but the rankings and the current trends do not suggest it as possible. South Carolina, to me, what I said to him is this team is improving under Mark Kingston. They're getting better at the program is getting better, is recovering, but you're still not. And I'm not trying to be funny because we've used it with Patrick. I think I did use this term yesterday when we were discussing it. They're not an elite team. They're not a top 15 team right now. You look at what they've done when you face really good teams that are in the conversation for the College World Series, and South Carolina struggled. The Bats have struggled. So it was a disappointing weekend. But that doesn't mean that, like, you just say, well, the whole thing's collapsing and it's a dumpster fire and, boy, we need to make changes. And no, I think the program is getting better, but they've got to continue to upgrade the talent. It's just the expectation was set, or the expectation for South Carolina baseball has always been so high. It's been College World Series or bust to an extent, and that's just not who they are right now.
And also, we've said it all season long, it's why the 10-5 start in SEC play was so impressive. The margin for error this year in the SEC, especially at the top, it is so razor thin. And if you're not playing some of the best baseball in the country, you're going to be in trouble. That's what's happened, I think, in the last stretch. If Carolina can't regain it down the stretch, then they'll be going on the road for the NCAA tournament. And the 6-game losing streak in conference play could have cost them a chance at it right now. We'll see soon enough if they're going to be part of that group of 20 that the NCAA has decided to go with as the finalists, I guess, to get the 16 sites, which I think that's the way you should do it. You shouldn't determine the sites beforehand. You should give a finalist list. I don't understand how they came up with 20 instead of maybe 32, or I guess it's a staffing thing, and they have to go out and make sure that everything will be in place. But it just seems like kind of an arbitrary number that now you'll have 4 programs, I guess, that'll get left out in the cold out of those 20 lists that will end up going on the road. That's where we are with college baseball. Papa Joe says, not sure we are still a big-time baseball program at South Carolina. I would like to think so. At the beginning of the year, we are on a hot streak, and now we're cold as ice. I think that's why I mentioned it earlier. I think both programs going into tonight's Carolina-Clemson game at a bit of a crossroads. And how this season ends will determine a lot about what we think about both these baseball programs, I think, moving forward, with Clemson coming off getting swept at Georgia Tech, now just 1 game over 500 overall, 500 in league play. The Gamecocks 500 in the SEC at 12-12 with 6 games left, and having slipped in the latest rankings, which are, by the way, 20 through 25, and 5 out of the 6 national polls is where Carolina comes in, number 25 in D1 baseball, all the way up at number 16, according to Collegiate Baseball. So those are the national rankings for Carolina going into tonight's game, where someone asked, who's going to pitch tonight for the Gamecocks? The answer after the Mississippi State series from Mark Kingston was pretty much everybody. And that's kind of the bummer of this Tuesday matchup with Carolina and Clemson, with the important series in conference play on the weekend. And it's why they've gone to that 3-game series earlier in the season, and just kind of the result of the rain out and the postponement.
Yeah, just for the record, I'm looking D1 baseball we put out yesterday. No, this is still last week. They've not updated their field of 64. So as of last week, they did not do an update. Maybe they'll do it today. Looks like they do it on Tuesdays. So they had South Carolina as a 2 seed going to the East Carolina Regional, along with NC State and USC Upstate. So that's where the Gamecocks would be. I would imagine, I don't know, maybe they'll fall a little bit from that here as we move forward. But that's just kind of an idea of where they stand now. Tim, as you said, that doesn't project in if they'll at least have a chance to be one of those 20 regional sites that get announced and maybe sweep. I mean, I would think you've got to do no worse than 4-2 and maybe sweep Kentucky and then take the series from Tennessee. That puts you at 5-1 to wrap up. And then I don't know, what is the exact date that they're going to narrow it down to 16? Is it coming after the SEC tournament or?
As soon as the field's announced. That's when, which will be after the SEC tournament.
So who knows? Maybe you go to the SEC tournament. I don't think it's out of the question, but I think the amount of work that needs to be done at this point is going to be a little bit too much to climb. They're going to go on the road for regionals, and we'll have to just wait and see where exactly it's at.
I need to see if you got them in the top 5. I don't have as much a problem with it as the more that I thought about it this morning. Russell Westbrook, all-time point guards. How are we going to remember this guy? Passing Oscar Robertson for most triple-doubles in NBA history last night. 803-404-6100 is the number. Love to have you on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Love Chevy phone lines or the live video stream up and rolling. Facebook, YouTube Live, on Twitter, of the station handle at 1075 The Game, where you can find us as well. You're listening to the early game. It's 1075 The Game.
The home of the Gamecocks and new head football coach Shane Beamer.
Wow.
To get back out there.
Oh, great.
Sports, we can reclaim the boulders, the backwoods,
Possible there, Travis.
and the brave.
Will be interesting, Jan, to see how much the NCAA goes off the old RPI. I don't think that's sad. And I think if you go to East Carolina, you feel pretty good about your chances. Last time they went there, they won the regional. Nice job. Mark did what I should have done, Patrick. Welcome back, sir. Welcome back.
I think, Mark.
Don't be ashamed, Mark. Don't be ashamed. I'm guessing he's talking about in the afternoon. I forgot. But not only, man, if you just go by RPI, Jan, how many SEC host sites do you get? You get too many. You got to spread it out a little bit as well. But you're right. It's been the most important number, certainly more important than rankings or any other metric we've seen out there. Patrick, you're not going to get the whiteboard going with the point guards?
My good webcam's just not working. I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand. That's so weird. Like it plugs in with a USB cord, right?
It's something with the browser on StreamYard because the actual camera itself has no problems when it's just hooked up to like the camera app, but it says like your browser lost connection to the camera. I do have a update Google Chrome.
I can't connect
alert.
to the Wi-Fi network. You might want to check the connection settings in the Google Home app.
See that?
Yeah, we see who runs your house.
Kidding.
I did not ask for her opinion.
You're right, Jake. You're right. Now, Travis, why would you bring that up this morning? Are you trying to get Jen in a bad mood?
Travis?
Jen, it looks like we got to record 2 sleep numbers, I guess. Is that what I'm for you?
I must have missed that.
They just came over.
Okay. We can do it at the top of the hour if you want.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's fun. Sounds like a winner.
So yeah, I don't know. I'll update Chrome tonight, and hopefully that thing. Do any of you guys have smart home things?
Yeah.
Angela's got an Alexa, and that the
Is that what you have, Tim?
Yeah.
Do you use it like frequently?
I don't. Kids do. But I don't know. We use it relatively frequently. What about you?
Haven't gotten into that yet.
I used to use it. I used it all the time when I had roommates because we would just always be arguing about something and then just ask the Google who was right. Now, not as much. I use it to play music if I'm like, showering or something like that. Or
That's what we do. Do it mostly
You know-
for.
My son's he has some stuff set up in his room with it or whatever, so I'll hear him say, Google, turn my lights off. And I'm like, dude, there's a switch. It probably takes longer for you to make that request than it does to go,
2 interesting takes there on the text line. One, we figured out why Michael doesn't like Patrick.
you called him a failure too.
I think it's fair.
Come on, Michael. And I also said like not in life, just as a football player and as a professional football. I also specified as a professional football player.
It's true. You can't call him a failure in life.
Very successful human being. Far more successful than I'll ever be.
and we're back in. Yes, Rip.
Little less than 40 minutes. Your first of 10 chances today and tomorrow. Your last 2 days for 25K workday payday here on 107.5 The Game. That's 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Top of every hour. We give you a secret keyword. All you got to do is text it in 95819. You qualify to win $100 plus every winner entered into the drawing for the great prize jackpot of $25,000. That's 25K workday payday here on 107.5 The Game. 8 a.m. Your first chance to win $100 today. Qualify for that $25,000. Very good point, Bill. Good and great to have you and Patrick back again this morning. Text lines 803-404-6100. Michael started this hour by saying, I don't know how you work with Patrick. He's an idiot. And then 16 minutes later, he has now texted back, I'm sorry for calling Patrick an idiot. But I'm still mad at him the way he talked about Tim Tebow. He's awesome and a winner. He did not have a failed career. They never gave him a chance to get back on the field.
Who's they?
He's getting he is getting back on the field, it looks like. It looks like he's going to be back on the field, just not a quarterback.
Than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But to me, I got no problem with it. You guys got the problem? You guys go off on this in the afternoon show yesterday about Tebow on the verge of signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars as a tight end, basically? Is that your hot take, Patrick, that you're bitter?
No, I don't think we had any crazy takes about it. I mean, first of all, we agreed that not even, I don't know. We didn't call him a failure. Like, he's obviously one of the greatest, if not the greatest college football player of all time. We just said that his professional sports endeavors have mostly failed. Like, you can, get AAA in baseball? I mean, I guess that's more than most people achieve, and most people aren't first-round picks in the NFL draft. But, I mean, he played 2 years and threw, 100 passes or something like that. Won a playoff game. So, but yeah, on the whole, it's kind of a failure. But still a great guy, still a successful human being. I don't really know what the strong take was. I think that my opinion is that the Jags were the only team that was going to sign him I mean,
Well, it was more of
horrible.
Yeah, the hot takes were more of all over the map about the Jags. I think somebody even said it's the most Jags talk that's ever occurred on this radio station.
And that is the most Jags move ever to sign him, even though he's not going to contribute. And
well, is it
the
the
most
most
sell tickets because they're the Jags and they're.
is it the Jags move or is it the most Urban Meyer move? A rookie head coach in the NFL.
I think it might be.
You guys don't remember Steve Spurrier in the NFL? He signed everybody that played quarterback for him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, that was
Werfel?
well, yeah. I mean, they
Nate
did that.
Matthews, Werfel,
Also,
yeah.
that was the times when Dan Snyder had signed every big name free agent he could get his hands on. So
I
also
agree.
that didn't work. So it's not really in favor of Tim
Without-
Tebow.
Well,
This
here's
is
the other
Urban Meyer thing.
Tim, here's the other part we brought up about this, just getting into the roster deal. 53-man roster, I think it's 10 or 12-man practice squad. But
Right.
does Tebow, and I asked Patrick, I think, was it no, my better question was Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson, but let's stick on Tebow for a minute. But, like, do you think he even makes the roster? Because 53-man roster is it's a lot more difficult, especially when talking about a guy who's never played that position, and the Jags need other help. I mean, they need a tight end, as Patrick just pointed out, but they need help at other positions. This right now, he's still got to train and work out for 3 months. So it's not like he's a guaranteed opening day roster guy. It's just, so I don't even know if they're doing it necessarily for publicity as much as maybe locker room support or.
Yeah, I don't know because
I don't see that.
we were talking about this yesterday, and like he's a great guy, but he was not. It wasn't his fault, but he wasn't a good influence on the Jets and the Patriots when he was there, just because of the attention that comes with him being Tim Tebow. And it's not his fault. That's just who he is. He just attracts people as magnetizing like that. And it's different for college and NFL coaches. College, you want all the buzz around your program. You want people to be talking about you because you need recruiting and things like that. But the NFL, there's nothing NFL coaches hate more than distractions. They don't want any distractions at all, and that's why Tim Tebow was at odds with his teams. Like the fact that there were hordes of cameramen swarming Tim Tebow after practice, the Jets coaches did not like that because all he was doing was being the personal protector on punts. Like if they wanted that sort of attention, every team would be chomping at the bit to be on Hard Knocks every year. But the NFL has to basically force a team to be on Hard Knocks because nobody wants to do it. They just don't want distractions. They don't want media around. They hate it. They're just football guys. So I do think the Jags, for that reason, are for sure the only team that would have signed him. And, of course, the relationship with Urban Meyer. But their tight end room is horrible. They drafted Luke Farrell in the 5th round, who nobody thought was going to get drafted in the first place. And James O'Shaughnessy is their starting tight end, and he's completely irrelevant. So he's got a shot.
So,
And if they want to do Taysom Hill-esque stuff with it, like if Urban Meyer does some cool stuff with Travis Etienne and finds a way to get Tebow snaps in like the Wildcat or things like that, like they could actually be pretty entertaining to watch.
would you guys, where would you vote? If we make the poll question today, and I think maybe we should, will Tim Tebow be on the Jacksonville Jaguars 53-man roster this year? I would vote yes.
I think
I'm not voting against the dude. I mean,
Well-
just the fact that he stuck around in professional baseball as long as he did. Patrick, you said, he just played in AAA. Man, that is so much better than so many people that have ever played baseball. The guy stopped playing in junior year in high school. I agree. There are some built-in things here. But it's hard for me to comprehend is Chris's take on the Cool Care Heating and Air text on little Timmy Tebow and Urban Meyer will run for presidency in 2024 because they'll both be out of the NFL by then. Them two love their storylines. To me, it just comes off as like jealous and bitter.
Well, people hate Urban Meyer.
Yeah, the Urban Meyer thing, that's legit, man. If you're going to go with his off the field stuff, and there's plenty to get Urban Meyer on, but Tim Tebow is about as
I think Tim Tebow is
free as you can be.
Yeah, but he's almost looked at as a shield for all of the debauchery that happened under Urban Meyer at Florida.
Well,
So that's kind of the reason for it.
Look, I think
Everybody says, look at this. But hey, Tim Tebow. Did you see Tim Tebow? Everything was great because Tim Tebow was there.
I think with Tebow, part of the issue is that a lot of people feel he's gotten passes. Because professionally, his stats have not been very good. You mentioned the playoff victory
As a quarterback,
He played
as a quarterback.
season.
All right. Well, but
less than 50% completion percentage.
I don't know what gets you promoted. I without doing a ton of research on this and just kind of looking very quickly at the numbers, his career minor league batting average was 223. Yeah, he was getting promoted. He got promoted from a single A to a double A after he hit 220 in 2017. He went from double A to triple A after hitting 273 with 103 strikeouts in 84 games in 2018, and he got put in triple A. Like, yeah, he got to triple A, and then he hit 163 in 77 games with 98 strikeouts. Again, Tim, and maybe this is a better question for Brian Jeffcoat if we ever see him again. Totally disappeared. But, like, what are the typical averages? I don't know. Maybe somebody else out there knows. What are the typical averages that get you bumped up a level and continue a career path?
Yeah, I don't think they're typical numbers necessarily.
All I'm saying is I think
averages down the list these days.
I think there's a lot of people who think, well, I don't think, because I've just heard the argument via social media and back when Tebow was bouncing around with the Jets and the Patriots and everything. Well, the only reason that this guy is getting a chance is because he's a great guy, not because he's a great professional football player. Like, we're giving him a chance to try other positions. What was the one, Patrick? Would you say punt protector, punt
personal protector? Yeah,
personal protector. Yeah, like, hey, we're
gonna
try
to switch him to tight end when he was a rookie, and he's like, no, I'm a quarterback. He was one of those guys. No, I'm a quarterback. I'm playing quarterback. And now 10 years later, he wants to go ahead and try being a tight end. It's like you could have done this.
We also talked
about a 10-year NFL career if you just decided to commit to this. People would have kept you on the roster if you're 25 and just switching the position for the first time. You would have been guaranteed a roster spot.
And Tim, this is also what we got into yesterday about talking about him making a roster. He's 32 now, 32 or 33. Like, he's not a young guy anymore that can go out there. Now, Patrick pointed out he hadn't played football. He hadn't played the physical contact sport of football in several years, so maybe his body's a little bit younger. He obviously doesn't have the wear and tear that someone does that's been playing for the last 7 or 8 years. But at that age, trying to learn the tight end position to go out there, I'm assuming there's more than just, hey, run into the guy in front of you when we ask you to block and run out there and turn around about 10 yards down the field and catch a pass when we ask you to go out. I would assume, again, there's more that he's got to pick up, and I think it becomes harder. The Kerryon Joyner's an incredible athlete, right? Like, an absolutely phenomenal athlete. And look at the struggles he's had trying to learn the wide receiver position in college. Now you got Tim Tebow trying to figure out how to play the tight end position professionally. I would probably take the no on him making the roster. But then again, with the relationship with Urban Meyer and what Patrick said about the tight end room, I can see the situation where he is on the roster.
I just think they signed him expecting him to be on the roster. Like, they've been working him out, and I just figure that Urban Meyer is going to give him every benefit of the doubt. And if he's going to have to play special teams too. That's the thing, is if he's not tight end one, he's going to have to play special teams. So if he's willing to do all that stuff and do the dirty work, I would be surprised if they cut him at this point.
To me, this is a simple move for the Jacksonville Jaguars, a franchise that could use any positive press out there. Why wouldn't you do it? Why not?
Is it positive? Is it positive press?
Yeah,
like,
you're getting talked about. It's press for the Jacksonville Jaguars. As long as that's not associated with an off the field arrest or legal issue, I think it's positive. With what that franchise has represented over the last couple of decades outside the one AFC Championship game run. And if you're Urban Meyer, obviously you know the guy, you trust the guy, and what you said at the end there, Patrick, that's going to be the most fascinating part to me. A guy whose pride did not allow him to do certain things in his football career has now come around to the point of just wanting to play football and being willing to do anything. I'm all for that, man. I can't wait to see it. I get it. There are plenty of college football fans out there that had Tim Tebow just running roughshod over him. His 7 touchdowns in Williams-Brice Stadium was, I think, the most dominant performance I've ever seen individually in college football personally. And now to see him basically have to work his way up from the bottom to make an NFL roster, it's going to be fascinating to me. And anything I think you can do if you're Urban Meyer to take the conversation away from, hey, here's Trevor Lawrence and all the expectations on his shoulders, I got no problem with that. If Bill shakes his head, disagree.
Yeah, well, we discussed that yesterday because I brought it up. I said the good thing, what Patrick just brought up about the sideshow that was Tebow for the Jets and people going to cover him. when they get going, he's going to be background topic. It's going to
Exactly,
be Urban
that's
Meyer
great.
NFL. Like you're right. He's not going to be the top. He's not taking away anything from Trevor Lawrence. He's not helping take the spotlight or the shine off of Trevor Lawrence when they really get going. This will be Trevor Lawrence is. I don't know what is story one. Urban Meyer in the NFL or Trevor Lawrence is the number one pick. They're both very fun stories to follow this year.
But they're all big, so I mean it's gonna take some attention away. Any attention that Tim Tebow gets is attention that's not gonna be on Trevor Lawrence's shoulders. So,
But is it elite attention? That's the question.
That's good.
That we'll answer as we continue to roll on this morning. Got to take a quick break here. It's the early game on 107.5.
The home of the Gamecocks and new head football coach Shane Beamer. 107.5 The
Zero Res, carpet and air duct cleaning. I recommend you guys go and check them out on the internet or give them a call at 803-262-4020. The website, zerorescolumbia.com. What you will find out is what I've found out firsthand. If you haven't had Zero Res out to your house like I have a couple of times, I recommend you get them out there, especially this time of year. Maybe it's just around my house. I feel like things are getting a little extra messy. My 8 and 6-year-old are out right now wrapping up baseball season, I guess. So that brings in a lot of extra stuff in our house. And then I got the 1-year-old running me ragged. And it's especially important that my floors are clean right now because that dude is just picking stuff up and immediately putting it in his mouth and running us all around all the time. And I'm at that stage in life. So I appreciate a clean floor that much more. And Zero Res has done that for me. I know can do that for you. They came out, cleaned my carpets, cleaned an area rug for me, freshened up the tiles in both the kitchen and bathroom. And the way that Zero Res does it differently than anybody else, they use a powered water system, no harsh chemicals involved. That's especially important to my family right now. Also, no leftover soapy residue. That's why my carpets have stayed cleaner longer. Yours can as well. 3 rooms of carpet clean right now for $119 plus a free hallway. When you mention me, Tim Hill, check out Zero Res at zerorescolumbia.com, 803-262-4020. It's Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. All right, Peter, sorry to break the news to you. Unfortunately, Swayze passed away. It might be close to a year ago now. And I think it was because of COVID issues. But Swayze no longer with us. I know his son, I think, still listens to the show, so that's why you haven't heard his voice. Boudreaux is now fully into the stand-up comedian world. Uncle Boudreaux is where you can find him, I believe. What's Jimmy saying as my computer's spazzing out on me here?
Yeah. That was something he didn't want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine that dude being the lead blocker in the NFL. Such a punishing job. You have to have such a different mentality. I think that would be awful. And there'd be so many guys in the NFL lining up to take a shot.
For sure, yeah. If he committed to that from early on when he realized it wasn't going to work out at quarterback.
So, but that's where most of the bitterness is about Tebow, right? Because he has options most people don't have. Most of us don't have near the options that Tim Tebow has had in his life.
Yeah. I mean, he's 100% only getting this chance because he's Tim Tebow.
So I did put that poll question up, FYI, on the Twitter. Yes or no? Does he make the roster?
Yes or no? Oh, what was this? Jennifer Gardner and Ben Affleck back together?
Yeah, we didn't see that yesterday.
Jennifer Lopez, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It just says
Yeah,
Jennifer might be
Lopez.
back on, and there's just a little tiny picture. I didn't realize that was Jennifer Lopez. Oh. I didn't want to click on it. I didn't know what kind of virus my computer might get.
That was back from the Jenny from the Block days, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Going back to old school.
She wasted no time.
That was after the Fly Girls days, huh?
She was engaged like a week ago.
Well, they were on the skid, so
Still hasn't given the ring back.
Oh, well, those are tough to acquire.
I mean, A-Rod posted a video of an Instagram live or Instagram story or something of a bunch of pictures of him and Jennifer and him and Jennifer's kids with Coldplay playing in the background. It was the most depressing thing I'd ever seen. That was no more than 2 weeks ago.
I don't think he's handling the breakup well.
I don't think so.
that's a world I just don't want to have to be in. I'm okay with that.
The Jennifer Lopez world?
Yeah, that just whole
The celebrity dating world?
it just
I
sounds
think it was
horrible.
that Southern girl, there's a reality TV star that I think was broke them up, right? The same one that Cutler was involved with, I thought.
Oh,
Really?
really?
I thought so.
So then
Could
why
be
is he having a
completely-
hard time with the breakup if he's the one that was
Is Aaron Rodgers still dating that the
Shayla
girl
Woodley?
He's
Yeah.
engaged.
Oh really?
They never even announced they were dating before they announced that they were engaged.
It's so weird.
So basically,
We're going back in.
wow, I was enjoying the TMZ talk.
All right, you guys are up.
Guys are missing girl talk with Bill, Jen, and Patrick on the live video stream right now.
Why? Well, you say y'all, or you rat us three up. I was the one that brought it up, and you were like, "Yeah, you didn't know that."
I was just saying how surprised I was that you weren't up on the latest gossip that you just happened to see, I guess, on social media
Jennifer,
about Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez.
yeah, you were the one that was like, "Yeah, you didn't know." Like, no, I did not.
That's where I'm surprised. You're usually up on this kind of stuff. I'm
Not really.
always the last person to hear, and I'm happy with that.
I surprisingly stay out of the celebrity dating scene. I don't keep up with that. That's why I just had to ask in the break if Aaron Rodgers and his new lady are still together. And apparently Jen knew quickly they were engaged. Patrick knew that they didn't even announce they were dating before the engagement. Patrick's very
So clearly you knew because you knew of her.
yeah. We talked about her on the show. That's how I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew was because we talked about her on this show. That's how I was aware of it.
Still engaged, yeah.
I didn't know they were engaged. I thought they were just dating.
Yeah, they never announced they were dating. They just announced they were engaged.
Yeah.
And it seems like that he had
He
a
was at the
better
Kentucky
season
Derby with
because of her.
Oh, okay.
He was
Right,
at Kentucky Derby with her and AJ Hawk and Miles Teller and some
You
other
guys
guy.
did see the picture, right, of Aaron Rodgers at the Kentucky Derby, and that was while all the Packers controversies going on. He's hanging out at the Derby and pretty much unfit.
But his life is going to work out, right? Like Patrick, I asked Patrick yesterday, who do you think plays with who do you think has a better chance to play with their team this year, Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers can go find a team with no problem. What do you think, Patrick? I mean,
Aaron Rodgers can't find anything.
I mean, he can hold out, and then he'll be perfectly
Well, yeah,
fine. He will be perfectly fine. Like that's what I'm saying. Like the Packers, I feel like he is in a better place to force a trade than Deshaun Watson is right now because there will be suitors. And you mentioned the Broncos yesterday. I don't know what the Broncos would have to give up, or what the Packers would want back. Because if they go with the if they trade Aaron Rodgers, they're essentially starting over, right? They're
resetting with Jordan Love. I mean, they're going with Jordan Love. They drafted him for a reason. That is a fascinating question to me because would you rather, if you're Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the Packers, would you rather trade him if he says under no circumstance will I play for you? Would you rather trade him or just let him retire? Like how poorly is it going to reflect on you if you trade him and then he wins a Super Bowl with the Broncos next year because he hated you. I mean, you could lose your job for it, but if he retires and pays back $30 million to the Packers and he never plays again, it's just a what if. It's not you don't have to watch him go out there and win 2 Super Bowls, and you're always going to be the guy that made Aaron Rodgers so mad he left town and won twice as many Super Bowls in Denver that he did in Green Bay.
What do you think?
You're leaving out the key thing, though. How does his replacement play? Right?
Well,
I don't remember who made the move from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers worked out, right? As far as like the GM or whatever, I don't remember who was in charge there. He doesn't go down in NFL infamy. Looks pretty smart, actually. But it's not like he's lauded as a genius in the NFL either.
But it wasn't a public. He wasn't like there weren't enemies. They just kept saying, Brett, are you going to retire? Tell us if you're going to retire. And Brett said, yeah, okay, I'm going to retire. Actually, no, I'm not going to retire. Trade me. So that's kind of Brett was jerking him around.
Yeah, they were pretty much enemies. It didn't work out well.
That's because Brett was jerking him around, and he wasn't happy that Rodgers was there. They didn't really want to draft Rodgers in the first place. They didn't want to make Brett unhappy. They actively went out of their way to trade up to get Jordan Love, and then have been completely screwing with Rodgers for the last 2 years.
But I think also wasn't the general consensus amongst people like you, Patrick, that really follow the NFL, that Aaron Rodgers was ready to step in and be a factor, whereas you've got the GM for the Packers saying that Jordan Love has a long way to go.
Exactly.
Well, Aaron Rodgers could have been the number 1 pick, and Jordan Love
What's your name?
wasn't even good enough to dress for a game last year. So
I mean, you're right.
I mean, they made this bet. Aaron Rodgers, it's like he's saying you made your bet. Like you wanted this guy so bad, you traded up to get him when we had a chance to. You could have drafted any other position. You could have drafted a corner last year because our secondary was terrible outside Jair Alexander, who might be the best corner in football. But they were so bad that we lost because Kevin King played the worst game ever. You think that wouldn't have helped us? You think that wouldn't have helped us more than trading up for Jordan Love?
I mean,
they could have won the Super Bowl if they drafted Chase Claypool in the first round last year. They probably could have won the Super Bowl this year.
Tim, you're right about we don't know how Jordan Love's going to perform, but I also think comparing him at this point in his career to where Rodgers was during the Favre Rodgers transition is unfair. Jordan Love, there ain't gonna be. There's not going to be that expectation.
Also, kind of irrelevant though, because what if the ball's in Rodgers' court and he says, "I don't care if you think he's ready. I'm not playing. You wanted this kid. You're going to play him now. He got his year to sit. I'm out. You want me to retire and I'll go host Jeopardy, or you want to trade me? You make
just out of curiosity. Rodgers has got all the power here. So what is someone like Denver willing to give up?
Anything. Like Patrick Surtain, the number 9 pick for sure, and then probably 2 or 3 first-round picks, or maybe 2 1s and 2 2s.
Interesting.
So you can get something back for him to feel good about what you're giving up.
Yeah. So would you rather have that? Because that's not going to guarantee that you're a Super Bowl caliber team with Jordan Love. Would you rather have that and then watch Aaron Rodgers win multiple Super Bowls with the Denver Broncos when you couldn't build a team good enough around him to win more than one?
I would rather
just him retire and pay you $30 million.
I'd rather get something back in exchange for Rodgers, whether it's draft picks or a high quality. If I can get Surtain plus 2 number 1s, that look, those getting their number 1s plus my number 1s,
which are going to be the number 30 or 32 pick.
That's fine, but that's 2 first rounders because I'm going to probably stink for 2 years or 3 years. So I might work my way into conversation for 2 top 5 picks plus getting the Broncos 2 picks.
I'm letting him retire. I'm calling this bluff. I'm saying I can't do it.
These guys are going to continue to argue about that. You can weigh in on our side of the automotive poll question at Tim Hill 1075 on Twitter. Will Tim Tebow make the Jaguars 53-man roster? It's the early game here on 1075 again.
Year is rolling along. It will be the second half of the year before you know it. Can you believe that? I mean, we are rolling right along. Summer is on the way. One of the things you might be thinking about is refinancing or buying a new home. We've been talking about that housing market. Fantastic time right now. Interest rates are low. If you want to make a purchase, you need to get in touch with a mortgage guru. I've got one for you. Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru with First Palmetto Bank. Give him a phone call this morning, 803-719-1005. Jacob is helping people save $200, $300, $400 a month on their monthly mortgage payment, whether they're refinancing or whether they're making a purchase. So many people needing a little bit of help these days that Jacob has added to his team. Brian Kovar joining in to help make sure you are taken care of, that you get the deal closed, that you save a little bit of money. Don't wait around. Get in touch with Jacob and Brian today, 803-719-1005. You can email them to letter J, Crowder, CROWDER at firstpalmetto.com is the way to do that. Again, it's a golden opportunity for you to save money. You don't want to miss the boat. 803-719-1005. He's Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru with First Palmetto Bank. Oh,
Just jetted on us. How rude. Sorry about that, guys.
Travis, I think the Kardashians are old news now, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, no, I think I saw that Kim Kardashian was currently dating who's the guy from CNN?
Do what?
One of them is dating Travis Barker.
There was like a room things that were saying that she was dating Van Jones.
Okay.
Because her and Kanye split.
Weird.
Well, yeah, the Kardashians. Is their show still even on? Do they still have a show?
Last season.
Last
Is
season,
that-
yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be lots of crying. There will be,
Understandable.
makeup going down the streets. Yeah.
Well,
Greg Wolf Blitzer. That's awesome. Man, a lot of text line today. A lot of bitterness.
yeah.
Rich, Super Bowls are over for the prima donna Rodgers. I'd ship his butt to the Jets or Detroit. See how he likes losing.
Sending to Detroit. That actually would be pretty funny. I mean,
You're gonna trade the reigning MVP to your division rival. That'll work out.
do they have the roster? Do they have enough to, if they got Rodgers, to like even make a dent though?
Maybe better than the Packers.
Well,
Just got
when
Jared Goff.
the Packers get rid of Rodgers, what do you think? When the Packers get rid of Rodgers, what do? They fall into the bottom. I mean, they're the bottom 6 teams in the league, bottom 4.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying out Chad. They brought in Chad Kelly for a workout.
The ultimate sting would be if the Bears grabbed him.
It's true. It's true. Y'all are busy. Y'all got Justin Fields and Andy Dalton.
Okay, well. Just not feeling it with Dalton. I don't know.
Not feeling it. What is he, the redhead rifle? Or the red rifle?
Red rifle.
You fired up, Jim.
AB.
Okay. Whoop. We're going to have about 45 seconds. Sit back.
Yep.
Actually, yeah. 35. You're up.
No was the easy answer to the question a few years ago. Will Tim Tebow end up playing for the
Third.
Mets? And if you voted no then, you ended up being right. But what about today? At Simco 1075, the poll question: will Tim Tebow make the Jaguars 53-man roster? Right now, the no's leading the way, guys. 55% of the early vote. Bill, is that where you're saying you're going?
Yeah, that's where I
Yes.
voted. I took a chance there. I don't know enough about their exact roster. Patrick, how many tight ends do teams usually carry, and how many tight ends does Urban Meyer need?
3 or 4, depending on how versatile they are and their special teams usage.
There you go. Yes, I don't know.
They're horrible. They have the worst tight end group ever.
Gotta go.
Hour 3 coming up here on the early game. Big finish there in hour 2, guys. Big finish.
Yeah.
Southern Charm. Have you heard of that show?
Yeah.
So what in Myrtle Beach, right?
Is it
Yeah.
Myrtle Beach? I was gonna say this girl is from Greenville. The one that broke up A-Rod and
really?
Yeah, Madison LaCroix. What network is that on?
I don't know. He seems way too interested in that, though.
Well, she's Jay Cutler's my boy, and she was apparently at the center of the Cutler, and I totally forgot her name.
Cavallari. Kristen Cavallari.
Yeah.
Wow.
So wait, she broke up Cavallari and Cutler, and then turned her attention to A-Rod and J-Lo?
Apparently.
Whoa.
All I'm gonna say is ho ho ho.
Thank you, Trey. Chavo, I'm glad that I didn't know that, actually.
Me too.
Trey, blaming it on his wife. I see what he's doing.
I didn't know it.
I think Travis and Bill Patrick and Bill have stopped fighting too much there, Hope.
No, we were on an actual sports show. We're just carrying it over. The 4 to 7 show is the actual sports show on this network. There is
We never
Yeah.
fight. It's just
They brought their serious sports talk energy to the morning show. I think we've worked that out of them.
we did, yeah. You gotta. I've been doing 3 straight days of it. I'm all Stephen A. Smith or Max Kellerman or Skip Bayless or Shannon Sharp. Plus, I'm having to get back in the rhythm of waking up early. Ow.
Clearly.
I stretched and my left knee just popped.
Ouch.
Oh, you have to walk around. Walk it off.
When you're done walking it off, then we can record.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Dadgummit. Ah. All right.
We'll get his
Sounds like
whining
the money
off
thing
the live
stinks.
stream. You guys do some real work. Patrick and I will. If you're just joining us, Patrick behind him didn't label his whiteboard, but he's got his top 5 point guards. And yes, IT apparently is Isaiah Thomas. So you're not putting Westbrook on yours either?
nah, not until. Did Jason kid win a championship? I don't think he did he?
I don't think so.
Maybe I should amend that a little bit. I don't think he won it. No, he did win the championship. Oh yeah, with the Mavericks. Oh yeah,
That's right.
and he was good for them. He wasn't just a.
Wait, but doesn't Patrick come off as more the big brother and Bill is the little brother? I don't think it's like a traditional one at all.
I think that might be what he meant. Yeah.
And I don't think Jerry West is considered a point guard because I think he was a shooting guard, but I need to double check that. Top 5 point guards because Russell Westbrook broke the triple-double record last night from Oscar Robertson. So the question is, how many point guards do you go before you get to Russell Westbrook? I thought I would go a lot longer than I really am going. Magic, I think we all agree Magic, Stockton, Who else is a consensus?
F.
Murray, I think we all agree would be before him. I think after that it gets real slippery real quick. I mean, if you go historically, you put like Bob Cousy in that list probably, but not many are doing that in the conversation this morning.
I'm just not going to be doing that ever. What years did he play?
In the 50s, I believe, when Celtics won all their titles. He gets a lot of
He played from 1950 to 1963. He will not be entering my list at any point.
just because of being that old.
Yeah.
So Babe Ruth, not even in the conversation of best home run hitters for you.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing there, Hope. So Wilson just passed Oscar Robertson, who always I feel like I put it in that list. I don't know if Gary Payton made a couple of lists. Is that Tony Parker at 4?
Yeah, I think I put Russ over Tony Parker. I mean,
Yeah,
he
for
was a
sure.
winner, played well in the clutch, was the best
see,
player for
I gotta
those first teams.
I got to put those guys over Jason Kidd because Kidd was not a guy who was you could rely on his shot like ever.
Yeah, he wasn't going to take over a game. But
And Peyton the same way, felt like.
Tony Parker did take over games. For the end of
Right.
the Spurs, what did he win? Did he win 5?
He won a ton. Yeah, I might have to get Tony.
4.
Man,
He
was
won 4.
amazing.
And in that last one, Tony Parker was definitely the best player on that team.
All right, Carlton, there you go. Clyde Frazier. My question would be, where's Pistol Pete in there? I think he's considered the point guard. I know he shot a bunch.
I'm looking at a list that has Derrick Rose, number 14, and Russ at 20.
Yeah, that's dumb. Whose list is that?
Lineups? I don't even know what that is. I just have not heard of so many of these old basketball players.
Who else you got?
Hang on, I gotta go back to the list.
Don't do it often, Patrick. Show that you're 25. I think it's one of those times.
Gail Goodrich.
Yeah. For my time, too.
I've never heard of him. Norm Nixon.
Yeah, and apparently just people with the same initials.
Yeah. Nick Van Exel, number 47 point guard of all time, according to this list.
Now we're eating breakfast, Bill?
Shares a
How we're
birthday.
A little bit of bacon.
Bill is the Zach Morris of the early game.
Why is that?
I love school. It's just that classes get in the way. I definitely feel like you love this show, except sometimes the show gets in the way.
I can walk over and get a slice of bacon. We're okay. This is delicious. I went back to the gym this weekend. They finally opened up the sauna, the steam room and the sauna.
Oh, I saw your tweet.
It was glorious.
I was gonna add, it feels good to sweat without actually exercising. I was gonna add that.
Oh, it's true. I love it. I was sitting there.
By just sitting on your butt.
Just doing nothing. Felt great. Skin feels better. It was wonderful.
It's heart healthy too.
It really is. I did the research on it by you speed up your heart. You speed up your no, it really is actually. I do enjoy the benefits of the live stream and working from home. I never want to go back. I'm so happy here. Jen will have to come drag me out of the house every morning.
Sign me up. You're up.
Bill's busted out the bacon. back in the early game rhythm after having filled in for Heath Klein the last couple of days. Glad to have you back on the morning show, and glad to see that you and Patrick have worked through your very serious afternoon sports talk personas in your conversation. What was that about earlier? No, Patrick's still shaking his head. He's still coming up. Was that about elite point guards and Russell Westbrook? Where was that going? I
Bill just thinks nobody's elite. Nobody's allowed to be elite except for what, LeBron James?
I mean, no, I put Curry. I put Durant. Harden, I think. Yeah, I'll go Harden in there.
You have to think James Harden's elite. That's crazy. Your
Usage,
standards for
man.
elite are much stricter than mine.
Yeah. Not
How
everybody
many
can be
elite
elite,
quarterbacks? How
Patrick.
many elite quarterbacks are there in the NFL?
Quarterbacks? Elite
Yeah.
quarterbacks in the NFL.
flip
I'm
over
saying
that
six.
board, Patrick. Let's
saying
write
six.
them down.
I'm
Flip
saying
over the whiteboard. Right now, he's got top 5 point guards all time written down. Can you tell the people your top 5? Looked like you had Magic, Stockton.
IT,
Stop saying ID.
Steph Curry, and Jason Kidd.
Isaiah Thomas, who he's talking about. We've all schooled him up that is not IT. It is C. Steph Curry and who was the last one you said?
Jason
Alan,
Kidd. I think
Jason
I might
Kidd.
rethink Jason Kidd.
Yeah, I can't put him in my top 5 of all time. I think I'd have Nash before I'd have Kidd, but I don't think I have Nash up there either. I think I do have to put Allen Iverson in my top 5. I think Russell Westbrook might have to get in there because I've always thought Oscar Robertson certainly deserves consideration because of him averaging the triple-double back in the day and what an amazing feat that was. And didn't realize since 1962, Oscar Robertson has led the NBA in triple-doubles. And now he does it today for the first time since then because of last night in the most Russell Westbrook way possible. Westbrook broke that record. He got an uncontested rebound with 8.5 minutes to go in the ball game, where there were only 3 dudes total inside the three-point arc. And then he misses a 3 in the game's final seconds, and his Washington Wizards lose to the Atlanta Hawks, 125-124. And the numbers, again, ridiculous. With 21 assists. The guy leads the league in assists by more than 2 per game, but he also leads the league in turnovers. And when he came to the Washington Wizards, Patrick wasn't happy. And this morning, he kind of worked through all that. And I think eventually got to the conclusion that he was emotional about it and probably didn't appreciate Russell Westbrook enough when he came to the Wizards. And now he does, mainly for how hard he plays game in and game out. Is that what you're saying, Patrick? In a nutshell?
Yeah, I mean, you can't – when you watch it all the time, you can't not appreciate it. It's just – I mean, he plays so hard.
But I think you can if it doesn't result in your organization, your team winning games as well.
Oh, it does in the regular season. I mean, he made his playoff team. So
that is the thing in how I think we remember not just point guards but players, right? How much emphasis this was part of the conversation with the quarterback list, right? Terry Bradshaw, where do you put them all-time quarterbacks? And how much do you weigh those 4 Super Bowl championships, right? Russell Westbrook, triple-double stats, amazing. But how much better does he make his team, or how much is he going out and grabbing stats? That's the conversation to me right now. And those 6 quarterbacks you just wrote down real quick, interesting. Are these in order or just – you just throwing them up in any order?
I got 5. For the record, without looking, I came with 5.
in order, yeah. I mean, yeah, I docked Deshaun for his antics.
So just off-field issues right now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'd go either way on these top 5. Number 1 and 2, I'd say, are pretty locked in for me with Mahomes and Rodgers. But I couldn't see any argument between Rush, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Deshaun Watson after that.
And you wrote Tom Brady on the side.
He's in his own little bracket because, it's really hard to judge him right now.
Bill, who are you leaving off the list here? You leaving Josh Allen off your list, I'm guessing?
That would be
And Lamar. Josh Allen and Lamar, yeah.
Well, who's the 5th? Who are the other dudes?
Wilson,
Tom Brady.
Wilson. Well, I got Brady on there, and I see what you're doing with that. That's fine. I don't disagree with you. I got Wilson. I got Wilson. Wilson was Wilson would be number 4. We'll count down from 4. All right. Wilson's number 4. I've got Rodgers at 3. I've got Deshaun Watson. I moved Deshaun Watson into that top tier after the 33 touchdown, 7 interception season. He's too good. And I got Mahomes at number 1. That's what I got. Now, that doesn't mean Lamar Jackson's bad. That doesn't mean Josh Allen's bad. Doesn't mean Matt Ryan was in contention, although I went ahead and bumped Matt Ryan out. I kind of go back to what you initially said. Elite to me is the top 3 or 4. You can get to 5 guys in the league. That defines your league. That doesn't mean the next tier stinks. It just we gotta stop that at somewhere, in my opinion. We gotta close down the elite status at somewhere.
So you say you put Deshaun because of his 33 touchdowns?
Yeah, well
you don't put Josh Allen after his 37 touchdowns, 4,500 yards, and first place finish in the AFC East.
Well, I also am not basing it on one singular season.
It's right now. I mean, Cam Newton won an MVP, but he's not elite right now. If the one season was the last season, do you think Josh Allen's going to come out and not be good this year?
You don't get elite. You don't get elite status because of just one singular year. I want to see you do it over the course of 2 or 3 years. I don't think that's fair to just give somebody elite status just based on one.
You don't give it to him based off 1 year. You give it to him because he's been building to this point for 3 years and gotten consistently better each year. And this is the year he finally put it together.
Again, earlier this year, you said the Buffalo Bills wouldn't win a Super Bowl because Josh Allen wasn't a good quarterback. Pat,
and
Tim,
I was
you remember
wrong.
that?
And I was wrong. And
it was 1 year. What if he comes out and stinks? What if he comes out and stinks next year?
This is me putting my hand up. I was wrong. Josh Allen is elite.
You're breaking the cardinal rule of Sports Talk Radio. You're never admit it. I'm kidding about that. I appreciate that, and I think that was clearly proven this year. That was one of the top stories in the NFL, no doubt. And I think you're talking about going into the 2021 season. Who are the elite quarterbacks?
Yeah.
That's how I look at it as well. And I do not disagree with your list there. I probably would change the numbers around a little bit, but I think that is really getting into the details and getting bogged down there. And I don't think Brady deserves to be in that category. Just like you have, he's kind of his own deal, right? I put Roethlisberger right beside Brady, right? And I think those guys are kind of their own deal.
Brady's just a different animal in the playoffs, and he makes everyone around him better in a way that's not quantifiable. So I don't know what to do with him.
And how Neil says Lamar Jackson over Deshaun Watson is LOL. Yes, Neil is a Clemson guy and only biased, but that's where it gets ridiculous, right? No, you have to have this guy number 3 and the other guy number 4. I think that those arguments get ridiculous. I got no problem with your elite quarterbacks. I do have the problem, Bill, with what you're saying. Like at some point, you got to cut things off. You got to be all right if you're going to put them in the top group of the league and you're just going to make that group 12 guys. Then what does it really mean? I think six names right now as far as quarterbacks out of 32. I'm good with that percentage. I can go with that from the elite status. Now, then, how does this pertain back to Russell Westbrook? How does it translate? Is Russell Westbrook one of the best point guards of all time? I think in my head, I'm the guy that's a huge Michael Jordan guy, but have always left the door open because I like to think I'm open-minded, that LeBron James could one day surpass him on the list. I know for some of you right now, you just screamed out loud or you started cursing or you completely disagree or you just grabbed the steering wheel a little bit harder, you gripped a little bit harder because it's unacceptable. I get that. But I can't think of myself as an open-minded person without having that. I don't think LeBron James has gotten there, but I think he's really close. Give me another championship, I think I might have to push him over that line. And I think when Russell Westbrook breaks Oscar Robertson's record of triple-doubles, I got to rethink how I've looked at Russell Westbrook.
Extra.
Then I watch the actual clip of his rebound, and then I just get old man grizzled.
One
at the
rebound.
Yeah.
One rebound.
Right. If we go back and break down all his stats, how many are going to be highly contested plays, Patrick? I mean, your own take this morning is the reason you appreciate Russell Westbrook more now as a Wizards fan is watching him play as hard as he does in the NBA night in and night out, which should be a professional requirement.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the NBA, it's just not.
Well, they're so talented, but also, I mean, not many people have the stamina to do that on a nightly basis as consistently as he does. So, I mean, he's got to be one of the most fit players in NBA history to be able to go as hard as he does, as long as he does. His conditioning level is off the charts. And everyone that's played with him says I've never seen a player that tries harder in practice either. So, I mean, it's just an everyday thing. His motor is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think where in my brain the disconnect is punitive. I punish him a lot for those turnovers, for leading the league in turnovers as well. Probably a little too much, but I think you really have to not only make your teammates better, not only put up points and stats, also got to protect the basketball. And I got to be able to trust you, I think, in the game's biggest moments to make the big play. And I think that's where I am with Russell Westbrook. That's the difficulty in me pushing him up that list past other guys that I saw for years and years and years. Always, I mean, you weren't getting the ball away from John Stockton. You kidding me? He's going to turn it over? No way. Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, those guys. Isaiah Thomas, obviously Magic Johnson. You're not getting the ball away from him. They're not going to make a bonehead play. I've seen Russell Westbrook make a bunch of bonehead plays, but I've also seen him make a ton of jaw-dropping, athletic plays that those other guys never had a chance of making. So that's the conflict that I have with where I rate.
Well, I'm trying to look it up quickly because I feel like this is some kind of, like, you can't base it on 1 year. And I'm trying to go back real quick. Do you guys know, has Russell Westbrook led the league in turnovers 7 out of the last 9 years? Has he? I'm asking.
I mean, he's always there near the top. Yeah.
This is not a 1 year thing. And the fact that he's up in years as well, I don't give him a pass. I would, like a young player trying to figure it out. And
he's been between 4.5 and 5.4 for each of these triple-double years. So, which
probably not only leads the league in those years, it probably is an all-time record. I'll go back and
he was sixth. He was sixth last year behind James Harden, Trae Young, Devin Booker, LeBron James, Luka, and then he was sixth.
Yeah. And all those guys, their usage rates are ridiculous. I mean, that does come with the territory. But like, if you're gonna skew like negatively towards Russell Westbrook and say the pace of play and all these things help bolster his stats, which they certainly do. But again, he's the only person putting up numbers like this in the NBA. It's not like everyone's doing it because the game is faster now. With all these extra possessions, you also have to factor that in for his turnover count too. I mean, he's reckless with the basketball at times.
Yeah, I'm just looking. He was second. He was second. So last year he was sixth. He was second 2 years ago, and I'll look at one more just to kind of go back because it's kind of that Josh Allen argument, which I get. You guys want to take one season and say, guys, this or that. I'm going to go with more of a broad. When we start talking about elite, what have you done for the last 3 years? And he was number one in turnovers 3 years ago. So in the last 3 years, he's been sixth, second, and first. So it's always who he's been as a player.
And Trey says, where does Steph Curry go on the list? He's in the top 5.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an argument, especially this year with the resurgence and the whole thing. I get it. Maybe if you want to say he's not a true point guard, and that's part of this conversation as well, right? How much do you value scoring over just passing and the whole? It's almost like, in my head, I think of Jason Kidd as a setup guy, John Stockton setup guy, Magic Johnson setup guy. Even Isaiah Thomas is more of a setup guy than a scorer, and as opposed to Russell Westbrook and Allen Iverson. Those are the guys that are going to go look to score first, pass second, even though the assist numbers are still ridiculous.
Well, especially for Westbrook. As Patrick was going over his elite point guards list earlier, the one that really jumped out at me that we could have done like a very yelling, sports conversation was Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons is not a scoring point guard. Now, again, let's not go down that path because I just don't care to go down that path. But that was the one that you said. I was like, I don't know about that one. But you talk about scoring point guards, Ben Simmons entirely different than, say, a Russell Westbrook type player.
Where do you put him? We got the Cocky Codger weighing in today on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. As a Wizards fan, admittedly biased, I absolutely have Westbrook as one of the best ever. Well, then we need to hear the other guys you got in there in the top 5, and that means you're obviously leaving people out. AJ, bro, LeBron ain't close to Jordan. And Jim L says, this may be the caffeine talking, but I don't put Russell in the top 5. However, I do consider him a Hall of Fame. Yeah, I think that's how I thought of him before we started talking about it a little bit more. We see you guys also waiting to weigh in on the Love Chevy phone lines. We'll do that when we come back. 803-404-6100, the number you can call or text. Also up and rolling on those live video streams, Facebook, YouTube Live, on Twitter as well, at 1075 The Game, where you can find the video. You can weigh in on today's Sutter Automotive poll question. At Tim Hill 1075, will Tim Tebow make the Jaguars 53-man roster? Some close voting. That thing will end in about 30 minutes or so. The final results, we will have decided something today, one way or the other, unless it ends in a 50. I've decided nothing. Gone nowhere. That's our goal for the rest of the show, to actually decide something. Come to a conclusion today. Help make the world a better place. Be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. It's the early game here on 1075.
1075 The Game. The game is on everywhere. On the air. On your phone.
Love Chevy. Graduation season is definitely upon us. I believe a lot of college students graduating over the last several days. High schools are up next. You might be that parent or that relative thinking, I need to get them a graduation gift. And there's no better graduation gift than a pre-owned car, sending them off into the next phase of their life, whether it's post-college or whether it's post-high school and heading to college, than a pre-owned vehicle from Love Chevrolet. It may seem like everybody's selling used cars these days. Love Chevrolet sells a bunch of pre-owned, but there's a difference between a used vehicle and a Love Chevrolet certified pre-owned vehicle. Love Chevrolet certified pre-owned vehicles have a 6-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, a 12-month, 12,000-mile bumper-to-bumper limited warranty, roadside assistance, courtesy transportation, a 3-day, 150-mile exchange policy. They have scheduled maintenance, limited OnStar trial, free Carfax report. You've got everything with a Love Chevrolet pre-owned vehicle, certified pre-owned vehicle. Go visit them and find out for yourself. That graduation gift is waiting out there for you to get for that high school or college graduate. Don't wait around. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Trust the dealership that's been family owned and proudly serving generations of families for over 60 years. That's Love Chevrolet. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
We can reclaim the boulders, the backwoods, and the breakers. Copper Tone Sport.
Yeah, Bill, I thought you were going to get a University of California reference there for graduation.
Yep. That's the popular. Everybody's got that popular joke right now. That is the go-to for all the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, good. It'll take a day or two to get back into the early morning rhythm.
Nice work, Jimmy. It's the second early Pearl reference we've gotten. And what about Chris Paul? Where are you guys putting him? All time.
Just on the of all time?
Mm-hmm. He's got to be in consideration for top 5.
Yeah, in the conversation for sure. So he's probably the second best of my lifetime after Steph. I would put him over Russ, although he's never won anything either.
No.
You would go Steph, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook?
Probably, yeah.
Here's the question: If Chris Paul ends up with the Lakers way back in the was it the Lakers? Was it Kobe Bryant was with the Lakers when David Stern nixed that trade, right? It would have been Paul and Kobe.
Sounds right.
Am I thinking correctly? And Paul wins, say, 2 championships. Then are we talking about him as top 5 easily?
No, not easily.
I don't know. I think if he goes to the Lakers with Kobe and wins 2 championships, I think that changes everybody's mindset on him.
Potentially, yeah. I think it will change his mindset because it's just a glaring. It's glaring when you see 0 championships. But it's not. I don't think it's easy for anyone outside of probably Magic, Stockton, and Curry.
175 again. What's your name?
Yeah, Craig, I do. I love Elijah Craig. I picked up Russell's over the weekend, Russell's reserve, and I went with picked up some Angels Envy. I'm with you, Gator. If that trade doesn't get nixed, I actually think we're talking about Chris Paul right there in the conversation with those other 3 guys as a lock for a top 5. But he ends up with the Clippers, and they couldn't get it done.
We have a couple callers there, Jen.
Yes. Just
Chris Paul known to not be a very good teammate, though. I don't know if he would have gotten along with Kobe if that were worked out.
Kobe would have smacked him around.
I don't know if Chris Paul would have
tell you
accepted
what it's
that.
all about.
That is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Being smacked around and picking winning NASCAR drivers, Jim. They go hand in hand.
I'm sorry, kicking your what? What? Where? What?
Exactly. I'll keep taking the high road and picking the winners.
Oh, you take the high road?
You keep resorting to the physical violence and holding down 4th place.
Interesting. I'll send you the definition.
Huh?
I'm going to send you the definition of the high road.
I look forward to that from your perspective.
Guys are up.
Second of 10 chances to win $100, qualify to win $25,000 in our 25K workday payday coming up here in about 30 minutes right here on 107.5 The Game. Every hour, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Today and tomorrow, your last 2 chances to win that, qualify to win that $100, and then the grand prize, $25,000, 25K workday payday here on 107.5 The Game. 803-404-6100 is the number. Love Chevy phone lines up and rolling right now. Russell Westbrook was the guy getting us into this conversation about top 5 point guards of all time. And now, Patrick, you're saying Chris Paul, you put him number 2 in your lifetime, just behind number 1 of it has slipped my mind right now. You got Steph Curry number 1, sorry, and then you got number 3 as Russell Westbrook, and then I think some of us
Kidd was in my lifetime, and I put him number 5. But I'm just taking his stock is plummeting in my brain right now as I keep working through this.
Yeah, he's been in a list today. Gary Payton has been in several of the lists. Isaiah Thomas. Those are guys that I don't put in my top 5 just of all time. Russell Westbrook keeps going up the list, man. You pass Oscar Robertson, because Bill, being a guy who tries to appreciate basketball history, like Bob Cousy's got to be in that list of top 5 to me. Oscar Robertson was, in my mind, always one of the best point guards ever because he averaged a triple-double. Amazing, right? And now that his record has been passed by Russell Westbrook, I think I got to rethink the way that I kind of held him in such high esteem in basketball history, just having read about him and trying to be respectful of the past. How do you try to keep those guys that you didn't see in perspective, or are you like Patrick and you just kind of throw them by the side and you can just go with what you see?
That honestly is just the fair thing to do, because I can't make it a proper assessment of Oscar Robertson or Bob Cousy or Walt Frazier. Nate Archibald is in there as well. So I think when you have these discussions, and this probably angers the older folk, because I'm sure several people would say, well, you got to have Bob Cousy on that list. You got to have Walt Frazier moved up a little bit. So But I think it's fair to judge what I've seen, and I did actually see just enough of Magic to have him in there. Magic and Isaiah, John Stockton, Steph Curry, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, Allen Iverson, Chris Paul was the guy we were talking about off air. Are all guys that I think are in the mix for those if you're trying to do a top 5. Russell Westbrook's an interesting case because of the teams he played on. Did play in an NBA Finals, did play in a conference Finals there that they should have won. Has played with really good players in Kevin Durant and James Harden. I think Patrick, one of the things you're kind of holding against him is the postseason success, or maybe that was just him being a wizard. You didn't think he'd be able to take him very far. But I don't also, Tim, this is, I think I'm going to put you in with me, the old mentality of the point guard, which was more of the assist guy, the facilitator than the scorer. Pete Maravich was the guy who kind of broke that mold, right? He was the initial scorer at the point guard position. I don't think you never viewed Isaiah Thomas. Maybe he'd have a big game here or there. Same with Magic Johnson, same with John Stockton. And when I say big game, I mean like high 30s, low 40s, kind of like what you'll see from Westbrook. But those guys were more of all around do it point guard, would you say? And then you get a guy like Russell Westbrook who plays the position so differently, as Patrick was talking about, with the motor and with the speed, the amount of minutes he plays. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to have with trying to slot him in. I wouldn't have him in my top 5 is where I'll finish this. If we're doing guys that I've seen, I'd probably have Magic and John Stockton at 1 and 2. Like Stockton to me is just what a point guard. Stockton and Isaiah Thomas are what point guards are supposed to be. Just facilitators. They can score, they can shoot, but they're there to be the leader. They're there to be the point guard of the team. Magic Johnson was a freak back in the day because 6'9" point guard, played all 5 positions in whichever NBA Finals that was. I think the 1980 NBA Finals or 81, whatever it was. Like a freak of nature, but I would have those 3, and then I'm putting Allen Iverson in there. I think Allen Iverson is, just because of the off the court stuff, is wildly underrated. I'd have Allen Iverson in there, and you know what? Our off-air conversation kind of has changed my mind a little bit in terms of guys I've seen. I probably would have Chris Paul at number 5 in terms of the list of the people I've seen.
Gator hits us up and says, would Tony Parker and Chauncey Billups be any guys top 10 to 15? Absolutely, Tony Parker, top 10 guy. I don't think I get Chauncey Billups quite in there. He and Stephon Marbury are kind of similar type players in my lifetime. I feel like maybe the same era anyway. I kind of put them together for multiple reasons.
They're on just such good teams, like so much better teams than Russ has been on. Like you can say that he played with Harden, but the only great team Russ was on was with that Thunder team when he was with KD. But they were just so young, and that was peak LeBron. That was the best LeBron had ever been. And he was just so big and physical at that time. That was before he lost weight and decided to slim down in LA. But he was just amazing at that time. And I knew Harden and Westbrook would never work. Those two stylistically cannot play together. They both need the ball in their hands too much, and it was just never going to work out with those two. It was a horrible pairing from the start.
But that's the thing about how I think about point guards, is that as a point guard, you should be able to make anybody work. Like that's part of your role. And Carlos hits us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line and says the point guard role has changed so much over the years, it's hard to compare them. And maybe that's the case. Maybe just the way the NBA was constructed back in the day was a little easier. And if you had more post guys and you had maybe more defined roles. And that's why I can think of those pass first guys as kind of the true point guards. But I think that's the true brilliance of great players, is that you can make it work. Or maybe that you had enough influence over your front office to get the personnel around you that was going to work to begin with, and they didn't put you in a bad situation. Maybe I'm not giving these guys enough credit. But you're right, Patrick. That combination, that's why it's hard in my brain to say, oh, these guys are top players of all time. But when they were put together, it didn't work out. That didn't make any sense. You got to figure out a way to make it work. Not doing that, I do hold it against you. And that's why I think I probably should give like a guy like Tony Parker more credit, who I don't think of as leading those Spurs championship teams, because I give that credit to first David Robinson, and then Tim Duncan obviously was more the guy.
But the last
And then-
one was Tony,
Right.
2014.
And he deserves a bunch of credit. And I think because of his personality, being a quiet guy, not from the country and the whole thing, maybe I don't give him as much credit as he deserves.
Well, he just fits on those bland, vanilla, nobody says anything, no real energy, excitement Spurs teams, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like that.
No flash.
Yeah. Just they're just there. Like we don't notice them until all of a sudden they're back in the NBA finals and Tim Duncan is expressionless and banking shots off the backboard, and Ginobili's half bald and hitting, wild shots, and Parker's just facilitating it all. Parker's just kind of the guy who's making it all go. And you had, Kawhi Leonard's running around on that team. Those were some really good teams that the Spurs had assembled, and I think that factors in a little bit with Tony Parker.
No elite point guards outside of Steph Curry and Tony Parker really have won a championship in, almost 20 years. It's been like Mario Chalmers with the Heat, Kyle Lowry, who's good, not great, with the Raptors,
So Iverson was shooting guard.
Derek Fisher with the Lakers.
And who was
Those
the point
were
guard?
like Kobe Bryant and forward-led teams. So, that's kind of the
Thank you.
problem
I'll
with
pass
these
it along.
point guards that, like, when Harden's playing
Thank you.
point guard and
Bye-bye.
Russell Westbrook's playing point guard, like, they're just on the ball so much. It's like unless they're carrying you to a championship like Steph Curry was, it's hard to play. They're kind of just hard to play with.
Cool carry did air text line. Cocky Codger back in. He mentioned that he would have Russell Westbrook in as one of the best point guards ever. And I asked him, give me his top 5 then. And he says, I'd say there are about 8 and 12 guys who should be in the pool. And he hit his top 5. Midway at Magic, Kuzzy, Curry, Westbrook, and Stockton. That's a pretty dang good top 5. I might have to copy that one. That's the top 5 point guards of all time. Wanted to switch the conversation real quick. Carolina Clemson baseball. Hope wanted to make sure we didn't forget about it. It's tonight. But the reason we're not talking about it is because of where these two teams are, where these two programs are, really. And it's a bummer. I just was trying to do a little research, and I saw that I think it was the state newspaper that did an article basically saying how the rivalry has lost a bit of its luster, but that was going into last year's series. And last year being what it is, can't really hold anything against anybody, having the season canceled 16 games in. But this year, with where Clemson is on the verge, the possibility is certainly there that they have their first under 500 season since the 1950s, I think it is. And one game above 500 overall, even in conference play, coming off getting swept at Georgia Tech. The Gamecocks coming off their worst SEC stretch of the season, losing 6 straight before winning extra innings against Mississippi State the other night. The question will be for Carolina if they can go on a run here in the last 6 games of conference play and kind of re-solidify themselves as NCAA regional hosts, because the schedule has been so difficult. And Jan was hitting us up earlier on the live chat and the live stream about the RPI, and that's where the NCAA typically has gone most to determine hosts. So the Gamecocks, I would say right now, have had a solid season. They were on the verge of having a really good season, being 10-5 in SEC play midway through. And now they've had a slide. They're sitting at 500 in conference play. 500 this year is nothing to hang your head about. And the Gamecocks have been pretty good in non-conference play, including those 2 walk-off wins earlier this season against Clemson. But it's where the programs sit now as compared to years past that I think has taken some of the luster away from this thing. It's been interesting to see a bunch of Clemson fans, I think, weighing in on the University of South Carolina president trying to take jabs in the last couple of mornings as opposed to anything that's happened on the field. I feel like that's what the baseball season has brought them to this point, Bill, in the rivalry bragging rights, if you will.
Yeah, and again, playing the game playing the series when it typically gets played in kind of the middle of March or the baseball season's early. It's full of promise. You're excited. You think that a series win over your rival will jumpstart a really big season, especially given the history of these two. And then playing it in May when things have played out. Look, if Clemson if Clemson had swept their series against Georgia Tech this past weekend, and maybe South Carolina wins 2 of 3, or had swept Mississippi State, I'm not sure you'd be saying the same thing this morning. But South Carolina in their last 9 SEC games is 2-7. Clemson's coming off a sweep, and as you mentioned, is 1 game over 500. I mean, that's just where we're at right now. But I thought that there was lots of intensity and lots of excitement about the series back in March. And you had 2 incredible games, 2 walk-off wins that could have gone either way. We could be sitting here tonight if a few things go differently and talking about Clemson going for a series sweep in this year tonight. So, yeah, I think the series still carries a lot of weight. I just think on May 11th, especially given where both programs are at right now and what's kind of occurred, you don't have the energy and excitement that you necessarily always do.
Yeah, combined 38 losses right now between the two teams. Clemson at 22-21, the Gamecocks at 28-17. That number is wildly high, I think, for this rivalry, and might be one of the biggest numbers that we've seen, certainly in recent memory. And typically, you're right, Bill, it's played earlier in the year, and the conversation we had around that series was it's not going to be a make or break deal for either team. It's very significant, but what's come to pass is that those 2 wins for Carolina did spark an early run. What was part of that 11-game win streak to start the season, but then it was a 6-game losing streak, and it came right back down to reality. The first part of SEC play, it kind of mirrored the start of the regular season, right? Off to a hot start, 10-5, and then dropped 6 in a row, and now sit here at 12-12. So will be an interesting game tonight. Will be a classic midweek college baseball game this time of year, especially in that you're not going to see, I don't think, on either side, pitcher go a lot of innings. You're certainly not going to see it on the Carolina side after the Gamecocks have lost now Jack Mahoney for the season with Tommy John surgery, and he had become the midweek guy and really solidified that thing and helped Carolina take care of business by and large in the midweek. Now he's no longer available, and the Gamecocks on the road all week, at Clemson tonight and then at Kentucky on the weekend, will be throwing a bunch of guys and trying to piece it together. We'll see if the offense can kind of wake up in a lot of ways and get going for Carolina against a Clemson team. I think that they set the school record in earlier this season in that first game you're talking about, Bill. That was a really well-played game, or both of those games were really highly competitive, but Carolina had a bunch of strikeouts. I forget if it was the first or second one, whether it was, I think it was actually, might have been the second one in Greenville, where Carolina ended up striking out 20-plus times, set the school record, and yet still got the win there, courtesy of the walk-off, one of 2 walk-offs from Andrew Eister. So I think we all wish that this rivalry was back to where we've seen it before. I think maybe the question is, do you have more confidence that it's headed back that way, or do you have more concern that it's headed the other way? Right now, it's difficult to tell from the Carolina perspective. I think the Clemson one might be more pessimistic with where Monty Lee is in his career than where Mark Kingston is more towards the beginning of his at Carolina, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you're asking to me goes back to the conversation I had yesterday regarding South Carolina baseball and where they're at, and why this past weekend was disappointing, but also why I think you still need to be upbeat about the future of the program. They do seem to be improving. Tim, do you agree with me in what I was saying yesterday? This isn't this team. The feeling of, I guess you'll make a joke here in about 10 minutes, like this is not an elite team. I think that's been the word of today, elite. They're not a top 15 team, but they are, to me, a top 25 team. Look at who they have really good wins on their resume. They've beaten some good baseball teams. They've been, the last 3 series have stunk. There's no other way around it. They're 2-7. They've struggled to hit the ball at times. But at the end of the day, I don't think you also just start saying, man, this baseball program's in the dumpster and Mark Kingston's not getting it done. No, he just needs to continue to recruit more players, to continue to build this program back up. I think Gamecock Will hit us up yesterday on the text line, and Patrick and I couldn't figure what he was talking about. He said, well, of course they look better. They were below expectations for so long. Well, you've now at least raised your expectation level back to being into the top 10 consistently. That's not where South Carolina was at 2 or 3 years ago. So I think the program's better. It's just not where people want it to be, and I understand that. But to me, it is a top 25 program.
No, absolutely. I think they've proven that this year. The series losses are to really, really good teams. Now, how competitive they've been in some of those series, I think might have you pushing them back towards number 25 as opposed to number 15 or even number 10. I understand that. How this team finishes up, I think, certainly going to define this 2021 season and define where Mark Kingston has the program. So a lot still to be determined, even with only 2 regular season series left in SEC play. 803-404-6100 is the number. If you'd like to get in a final word, we'll do our best to help you do it. Top 5 point guards is somehow taking over the show. Tim Tebow is the poll question. If you want to get in your final answer, is he going to make the Jags 53-man roster up and rolling at 75 on Twitter? It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game. Buford Lending, who I recommend you give a call to at 843-524-2404. I dialed that exact number yesterday. Came up. This is where my family is right now. So we have the third child who's a little bit more than 1. That means our house has gotten smaller recently and looking to upsize. And we know when we do that, we need to explore our options. I've already done that with Benji Getsy and Buford Lending. And I can tell you from the numbers he shot back to me, it's obviously a great time to be in the market right now to either refinance or look for a new mortgage. And Benji has proven that to me personally. Yesterday, he proved again why he is a great lender because of how quickly. When I dialed that number, Buford Lending, 843-524-2404, Benji answered. And I needed to make sure I was up to speed in the process. And Benji helped me out immediately, got me exactly what I needed. And we're good to go moving forward. We'll see how all that works out, of course, with the exact home we're looking at and the whole deal. But what you need to know when you're in this process is you got to have somebody you can trust. And Benji Getsy, Buford Lending, that's someone I can personally recommend to you. And all Benji asks is that you give them a call. If you have a relationship with somebody else you used in the past, certainly check them out, see what they can do for you. Benji and his team, because of their 25 years experience, confident they can give you the best deal possible. Again, it's Buford Lending, 843-524-2404.
Well, I know we've talked about it, but yeah, there is a difference between like good black coffee and just regular store. Like I can tell a massive difference between the coffee for wellness, just the taste of it is a black coffee. And what have I got? I've got like whatever it is, like the Bilo brand or whatever, New England, whatever, and it's hazelnut cream. So it's like a flavored coffee. But yeah, I can taste a significant difference. And having not drank coffee this morning because I fixed a cup and never drank any, I can feel it here at the end of the 8 o'clock hour as opposed to having 3 or 4 cups of coffee in the morning and still being perfectly good right now.
I don't think you're getting any agreement from either of us. Coffee's coffee.
I totally just I'm a coffee snob now, Patrick.
Yeah, you are.
There's a
difference, I guess. But I get a bag of beans shipped to me every month now, and it's really good. But when I run out, I just drink the like store brand K-cups, and it's completely fine.
Oh no, your taste palate is not up to speed. Got to work on it. Tim asked a lot when I started drinking that coffee for wellness. I can't remember what you asked. You were like, "Oh, is it good or whatever?" I was like, "I don't know. It's black coffee." No, now I will tell you, it's very good. I may need to order a bag today.
And you've ordered how many bags?
7 or 8.
Rest.
7 or 8. I think. I don't know. I started throwing them all. I was keeping them for a little while just because I liked the bag, but yeah, maybe DC. Maybe that's it. Flavored coffee. I agree with you because the coffee from Wellness, and there was that Kona coffee that I didn't really care for, but it still was better than this, and it wasn't flavored. That might be what it is. Flavored coffees are, as black coffee is not good at all. But yeah, that's the coffee for Wellness. It might be time to get back into that. Oh.
Bill needs to take over Coffee Talk, the old Mike Myers skit on Saturday Night Live. Hope saying, I think.
Yeah, that would be good with a call. Yeah.
Patrick, you're not a Saturday Night Live guy, are you?
Not anymore. I was. I used to record it and watch it when I was younger, but
Same here. I stopped a couple of years ago.
I watched
definitely
a little
did
bit.
watch
We
it since
talked
college.
a little bit about this yesterday. I watched some this weekend because of Elon Musk. And then we tied that in yesterday. Man, that I wasn't paying attention to the SpaceX stuff and all those satellites. But Sunday night, when those went overhead, and me and about 6 or 7 other neighbors didn't know what they were. It was a good 5 or 6 minutes of, well, okay, the aliens are finally here, and they're letting us know about it now.
So what was your review of the Saturday Night Live?
It was all right. I think Musk is I think he tried to be funny, but I just don't think he's got that kind of like personality that I think it's just not a good.
well, Saturday Night Live is supposed to be the funniest people in the world, and they should have been able to create some funny bits around him, and they just did not do it.
Well, like the weekend update, I thought it was okay. It's just his personality couldn't like sell the Lloyd Ostertag character, if that makes sense.
At this point, if there's a funny skit on Saturday Night Live, it'll get posted to YouTube on Twitter or something. So I'll watch like the one skit if it goes viral. If not, I won't waste my time.
That was the first time I've watched Saturday Night Live. Like sat down and watched it.
Kate McKinnon had the funny. Kate McKinnon had the funny alien bit that was hilarious.
She is good.
With
really
Ryan
is.
Gosling. You seen that one, I assume, Tim?
What's that?
Where she saw an alien or something in the neighborhood, and she's with Ryan Gosling. She's like got the.
Yeah, they've had that recurring skit a few times. Basically, the chain smoking redneck. Right?
Yeah. I think that's her. That's the one that I've seen from her. That's very good.
Yeah, I like the update too. I think they are pretty good. Craig.
Michael Shea just made a skit show on HBO Max. I saw.
I think this weekend I may actually, if I stay up, because they have
Agreed, Jason.
Keegan Michael Key whatever Keegan Mike whatever the funny the guy that I actually think is pretty funny. I've seen him in a couple movies.
Keenan?
No, Keegan.
No.
It's from Key and Peele is there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's on there this week, so I will also admit even on a Saturday
Not gonna be funny,
night,
Key and Peele.
We're back in. You guys are up.
Hey, final couple of minutes of the program here. Great to have Bill and Patrick back on the morning show. Looks like we might have left somebody off our top 5 point guards. Is Phil going to keep us straight on the Love Chevy phone lines this morning? Phil, you get one of the last words on the show. Good morning, sir.
Why we're talking about it this morning, Phil, is that Russell Westbrook passed him last night.
Passed him for what?
Most triple doubles all time in NBA history.
Yeah, and how many championships does he have?
It's a good question. I don't think he has any, does he?
No, he doesn't. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar called Oscar Robertson the greatest basketball player he ever saw.
All right, hold on though. You missed part of the conversation here. We all agreed Oscar Robertson was top 5. That was earlier. We were just the last one you heard. We were just talking about guys that we had seen. Patrick and I have never. It was just the guys that we've seen.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah, we all had him in the top 5 earlier in the program when we were going. Like Bob Cousy got mentioned as well, Earl the Pearl. So we were just doing guys that we'd seen.
Well, Earl the Pearl didn't play point guard. Walt Frazier was the point guard on the Knicks.
45.
Was the point guard of Washington Bullets, Baltimore Bullets.
You really should have listened a lot more earlier today. You would have enjoyed the conversation. I think we had some old school NBA talk. You missed that.
And one guy you missed was Nate Archibald, who was the only point guard to lead the league in
30.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate the phone call. We're going to call Phil our basketball historian on the show moving forward.
He would have liked today's show. A lot of NBA talk.
Yeah, not everybody like that. Rooster P just sent us a thumbs down. You can't make everybody happy, Bill. But the thing about the morning show is you don't try to make everybody happy, and you don't have to yell at everybody. That's the fun of it.
It's true.
We'll do it again tomorrow.
From Eastover, Columbia. It's all sports, all the time. 107.
Good ending.
All right, that'll do it, gentlemen and lady.
All right.
You guys try to get back on the old morning show routine. Good luck with that. I know it's an adjustment. Sorry, I got you on mute there, Bill. There you go.
Yeah, that I'll be honest, I didn't set. Thank goodness last night I went with the double alarm system. The alarm next to the bed. The alarm next to the bed did not go off, but my phone went off this morning. That's what woke me up. Otherwise, probably would have made it to about 7 o'clock.
Oh boy. All right, good luck. You got lucky tonight. 6 o'clock is when Carolina Clemson starts, so it shouldn't be a late night baseball game. We should be good to go.
Sweet.
DC, Hope, Mark, you guys as well. Oh, let's see how the poll question ended up. I forgot to even put it on the show. Let's see. Yes or no? What would you guys guess? Oh, man. Unbelievable. 50-50.
Wow.
That is fantastic.
That's hard to do almost.
No doubt. All right, live streamers. We'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Thanks for helping us out.